Welcome to the Theory of DFS podcast. I'm Jordan Cooper, the co-author of the Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports. It's a 15-hour audio DFS masterclass that you can pick up at theoryofdfs.com. Eric is busy. He's doing something. I don't know what. He's every once in a while. Can't do the show. He probably lost. He won a bunch. Now he lost, and I did well. So of course he's not going to show up when I do well. So to replace him, brought on a good friend, I guess, in the industry, Josh Engleman. Absolutely. From Awesemo.com, formerly from the DFS subreddit.
Good old days.
The good old days. Once you've moderated the DFS subreddit, like you must have like nerves of steel. Like nothing could tilt you as far as like questions and comments and anything. Because I check in every so often. Because I read it, I'm like, let's see what people. I don't respond typically, and it used to be a lot more conspiracy stuff that was fun. Now the conversation is a little bit better, but a lot of it is like I feel like it's 2013 there. So obviously, being involved in subreddit, pretty much got you the kind of the job at Awesemo.
Yeah, 100%.
How is that transition as far as like, because I consider. I mean, I know I work for Roto Grinders, and every site does great content, but I like the stuff when you do the NBA strategy show, when you do the NFL lineup review show, when you happen to be on. I know Alex was on this past week.
I tapped out once basketball started.
But I mean, just your general approach to just playing DFS in general is very is smart. It is how good players play, but is also you do it in a way that's I think you do it in a much more accessible way than I do it. Like I think we both say the same things, but I think I'm a little like New York blunty kind of like, this is what it is, and if you don't get it, you're just fucking stupid. But I mean I appreciate the content that you put out, and it's so much better than going on DFS subreddit.
Well. Yeah, I appreciate yours as well. It's good to, I feel like I'm disingenuous if I'm trying to talk about like my picks, so to speak. Even, the contenders videos that I put out, that's just basically like a cash list. Nobody seems to recognize that, generally speaking, but it's.
Here are the highest projected players point per dollar. There you go.
Yeah, more or less. Yeah. So yeah, it's trying to get, if I had sort of the same experience. I was in banking a little bit before, and just getting like one person to get it actually felt pretty good. But the amount that don't, that starts to wear on you a little bit from time to time. And I think more and more people are starting to get it, and that's helpful. It's probably bad for me in general, just playing in DFS, but it's good for me as a person that puts out content. I want people to understand, like, I'm not trying to steer you in any particular direction. This is just what I have. The best that I can do is show it to you.
Right, but you see from doing your content. I mean, my attitude is that yes, I appreciate the 5% of people that get it, and those 5% of people hopefully are not in my contests, right, or don't eventually come to kill me. But I mean, I could do it till I'm blue in the face. That 95% of the people are still don't get it. That I feel like in the overall ecosystem that I'm doing, I'm plus EV content wise, because obviously content stuff brings you recurring revenue, especially when swings and GPPs are ridiculous. So to me, it feels like whatever edge I'm giving away to the 5% of people that end up getting it and taking away some of the edge in my contests is still worth it. I'm getting it back by, selling the Masterclass and getting paid from Roto Grinders or whatever. And it's not like major money, but it's the type of thing where if you go on a $30,000, $40,000 downswing, it's like, well, my bills are being paid. I mean, like I'm getting a income coming in that like I don't have to dip out of my bankroll like ever to pay for stuff.
No, absolutely. It's weird. I never saw this coming. Like we started talking about Reddit. Speaking of Reddit, by the way, I'm banned. Not allowed there. Not allowed to post.
Why are you banned?
Did
you say something bad about Bathrobe?
No, love Bathrobe. Love Bathrobe. Great guy. No, so like it was probably.
How did you get banned? You were the moderator.
I never was a mod.
But you were like the main. Like I remember back in the day, like you were the one pushing a lot of the conversation.
I was posting my basketball projections as early as 2014 there, and that was a very welcomed activity to have free NBA projections. That just was sort of that easy. Time messes with me now because of COVID. I can't remember how long ago this was, but it's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 2 years ago. I just got an email from the Reddit mod or whatever that said I was banned from the subreddit. I was like, well, that's interesting. I haven't been there in a hot minute. I'm not posting actively, nothing like that. Found out that it was because I recommended everybody that was watching our show enter the Yahoo zero management fee contest. I was like, this should be the first thing that you guys are doing. There's no rake on this contest. It's just incredible. And people were like, he's telling us to get into this contest and he's not in it. And I was just like, I don't care about it.
I remember that. I remember that thread. Oh, I remember. So they showed your screenshot. They only had like $3 in your account.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, because I'm not playing on there. It doesn't make what I'm saying not true, but I'm just not playing on Yahoo. It's still a great contest to enter. Any rake-free contest is going to be probably the best contest you're going to be able to get in on that particular day. So Oreo, who was working with Dave at Fantasy Cruncher at the beginning, I don't know what that relationship is like now, was still listed as a moderator on the subreddit. So I just sent him a DM like, hey, can you unban me? And he did. And I hopped right back in. I was like, thought I was banned, folks. Started posting a little bit. They axed me again, and I haven't been back since.
But what is your take on that? I mean, because the overall sentiment is that, like, whenever I'm on a show, like what happened yesterday, for instance, like they have me scheduled at Roto Grinders. I do the pre-lock show for the showdown on Monday nights, but then I'm also like this month on the Grinders Live show for NBA, and it's like almost back to back. I mean, there's an hour in between. But the thing is that on an 11-game NBA slate, like I'm going to be on a show from in the pre warm up, to set up everything, 7:20 to like 8:20.
Yeah.
So like how the hell am I going to be on a show and then change? Like who knows? Jimmy Butler's out. This thing happens. So like I'm not playing NBA. But to me, I'm not a big fan of people that do content that don't play. And we know that there's a ton of people like that.
There are.
But I always make it a point when that happens to like let people like I am not playing tonight. I'm giving you this is what I would do, but you're more than welcome to take anything that I say and just throw it out the window because I have no financial interest in what I'm saying. But I mean, from the internal perspective, I'm saying anything that I would normally say, but I never want to give the appearance that like, oh, I'm telling you to do this, and from a strategy perspective, and then you see like nothing like that. But I mean, we also get in the industry, especially if you're a max enterer or at least multi-enterer. I mean, the misunderstanding of like saying that I'm not going to play much of someone doesn't mean that you don't like. It's like, oh, you said that this guy was a bad play, yet you came in first place and that guy was in your lineup. And it's like, yeah, he was in 3 of 150 of like I was significantly, like he was 32% owned and he happened to be in 3 of my lineups. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, you said you didn't like the guy. It's like, well, he projected well enough for that lineup to show up in that lineup. But like from overall perspective, like you put it in the NBA strategy show. And truthfully, I understand what you're doing, but I'm not a big fan of how you put it because it focuses too much on exposures. Like when you say, like, I get what you're saying. Adam gets what you're saying. Any good player gets what you're saying. When you say that your guy is projected for 24 points at 3,800, I'm getting him in 23% of my lineups. I'll probably be, he's going to be whatever percent owned. I'll probably have more than the field. Like, You're just all you're expressing is like whether a guy at his projection and his range of outcomes is under or over owned. And the more over owned they are, the less you're going to get of them, and the more under owned you are, the more likely you'll get them. It doesn't mean you're Xing them out, doesn't mean you're locking them in. Yeah. But the problem I have is that people that don't understand that under owned, over owned concept, that it's not about like if a guy is 20% owned, do you play 40% of him? Do you play 10%? Like, people focus too much on what exposures do I put in, and like I'm not necessarily putting in exposures. I just know that
I won't know.
Oh yeah, right. That's exactly what I'm saying. Like, sometimes you just don't know. And sometimes you see you're getting too much of someone and you're like, I want to be more diversified, so I'm going to play him in less lineups. Or you want to be, you're just like, if I'm going to have, 87% of a guy and then have like a guy that's over-owned in like a couple of lineups and maybe like, on this slate, I'm just going to go all in on this guy. Like, but to me, those are diversification questions, not strategy questions. And I think people confuse the two.
Oh, I think they most confuse the two. And yeah, I'm mostly just looking at my script. I know what is likely to show up when all is said and done, just from seeing my projections, the current ownership, and if I run like a pre-show crunch or a sim, whatever we want to call it in this particular sense, I'll just kind of know what's going to be there and what's not going to be there. You get used to seeing it. And that actually makes me think that I should probably be a little bit more specific in the way that I describe the things that I'm talking about. Because I think that I'm probably kind of bad at trying to say whatever it is that I mean when I'm staring at my own spreadsheet. That's why I miss the days. It's good on the process show in the morning. I miss the days of me just always sharing my spreadsheet. That made it easier for me to show people what I meant. But that is not a day anymore.
And why don't you show people your spreadsheet? Because it's too good to show.
Well, no. One, the production of our show has just changed to being the two heads on the screen. When I was sharing it, there was a decent chunk of time where I was live on the prep to lock 6 to 7, overlaid on top of my screen with just everything that I had. So everybody saw everything I did. They saw me updating the spreadsheet. They saw all the data that would be on the spreadsheet. They saw me copying my lineups out of my Excel workbook, pasting them into the CSV, and uploading them. I loved that. It doesn't necessarily make for like a great show from a production standpoint to get to the masses, but I think it's really good for the core audience.
Right, but that's who you're trying to appeal to. But I think the problem comes in is that concepts in DFS don't have like there's no yes or no, there's no concrete answers. So like I find it easier, and I know it may frustrate people to put things in more likely, less likely term, like in that it sounds wishy-washy, but that's the proper way to present it. So that's why like using the terms, I prefer using the terms over-owned, under-owned. Like, is this player individually, as in a vacuum, under-owned or over-owned for their projection? And does that mean you don't play them in a line? No, they could fit in plenty of lineups. But not talking in terms of over the field and under the field, because then we get into the what settings do I put into the optimizer to print money stuff. I mean, you laugh at that, but that's like, how many uniques are you using? It's like, well, that's a diverse. Like, to me, the biggest gulf between people that are trying to now move their play towards like a tool-based approach, where they're using an optimizer, they're using simulations, even if they're just using the data that like Osmo has or RG has, or they're using that and then try to build lineups that way, is that, like I said before, there's a difference between strategy and diversification. And the reason why, like, if you have 150 lineups, and I go through results DB, and I know that FC has lineup rewind, that you could go through and go, like, there are certain 150 maxers that play a very high variance style, that they're more likely to have like 5 players that like 70+% own and then rotate a whole bunch of others. And then there are other guys that have much more balanced. Yeah. What people don't understand is that like that's not a strategy difference, that's a diversification difference. Just that they're going, whatever the difference between the better plays and the worser plays, they're just kind of going, like just going more all in. Like on yesterday's showdown slate, I did the show and I said I'm playing 16 lineups. I'm playing 0 Deebo Samuel. Now, obviously, I got no money back because Deebo Samuel went nuts. But to me, that was a diversification. That I believe he's the most over-owned player on the slate, and I'm only playing 16 lineups. So I could choose to have him in 4 out of 16. I could do that.
Yeah.
But it's showdown, so I'm like, I'm deciding I'm playing $675 in play. So it's not 2,000 or anything.
Right.
I'm gonna just X him out. I'm gonna X out Kittle also. You see how bad that I did, right? Because I played a ton of the Rams.
Didn't go well
to me,
for the Rams.
but to me, like the original thing of the strategic decision of Deebo Samuel is overowned, but he obviously could show up in some lineups. Is different than Deebo Samuel's overowned, so I'm going to focus more on the underowned players in all of my lineups and be non-diversified. Like, that is not a strategic decision. That's just a risk tolerance decision. Like, you could play Deebo Samuel plus EV lineups. It's just I chose not to out of 16. I have 500 lineups to choose from, and I can only play 16. I'm going to choose the 16 non-Deebo Samuel lineups. But do you think that...
And there's going to be a lot of them to choose from, too.
Right, well, of course. But do you
people
think
that there's like 5 real lineups and then everything else is terrible, too, which is insane.
But do you do you think that focusing so much on those terms of like over the field, under the field, get away, it makes people think that we're talking a lot about exposure settings and optimizer settings when you really should be looking at like, here's a 9-player lineup and how many good lineups can you make? Maybe you could make 3,000 of them, and you look at all 3,000 and go, I don't mind playing 150 out of any of these.
Right.
But, I mean, I could play all 150 with one guy, the same guy in it, but I'm going to have more lineups with the good plays in it, but there's going to be just as many plus EV lineups that don't have those guys. It's just a matter of which 150 I choose. Putting it in those terms, I think, makes it easy. I say it makes it easier. I think it explains the concept better, but then it creates the questions from people of like, well, now that I have my 3,000 lineups, which 150 do I play? And a lot of people don't like my answer of whichever ones you want.
Right. It's, how many fantasy points is that lineup projected for in comparison to the most that you can have? And how owned is that lineup in relationship to the rest of your lineups? There should be some sort of trade-off as you work your way down the fantasy projection list to give back some of that ownership. What that trade-off is for you personally, and not mean you personally, but like you as the general person, what that trade-off is to you might be a little different. Some people might want to be significantly more contrarian than others, but you have to make some sort of trade-off to give up fantasy points to try to be slightly more unique. I don't think people are ever thinking about looking at their lineup and then comparing it to whatever the actual maximum can be and thinking like, okay, well, I'm giving up 27 NBA points here. Is this still a good lineup? It's like, well, maybe. How owned is it now? Nobody's looking like.
And then also, Josh, what contest is it in? You tell me that a lineup typically an NBA, right?
Contest?
Right. I'm playing a single entry, 100-person single entry GPP. I have 27 points off the optimal. You're probably not playing a good lineup for that contest.
No. Can it win? Sure. Is that going to win a lot? Probably not.
But in a large field thing, you could have lineups that of different variance types. Yeah. So, for instance, like when people ask, because now that I preach the whole, literally exactly what you said. You could if you're sacrificing projection, you have to gain something from it.
Yep.
And then people ask, well, how much should I be? And it's like, well, that's on a slate-to-slate basis, and it's on a contest-to-contest basis. And there are lineups that are like, you don't, like, if you were to build lineups, for instance, that were 5 points off optimal, and you built 150 of them, you're probably going to have a lot of the same players in them because to only be 5 points off, you're going to be sharing a lot of lineups. So those lineups probably have some win equity, but more min cash equity. Now, you could play plenty of those lineups, but there are lineups that you give up 20 points in projection that you look at and go, this lineup is like a first or last type of lineup. So it either wins or it comes really low. If you play 150 of those types of lineups, expect your swings to be gigantic. So most people, that's where it comes in, the strategy versus diversification of, you're going to play 150. maybe you don't play all 150 that are like essentially like single entry-ish 5,000 person field lineups in a large field contest, because it's like, I feel good about all of these lineups. It's like, no, I want to feel good about, I want to feel like good, like in that, like I'm playing good players type of thing for maybe a third of my lineups. And a third of my lineups I want to look at and go, these are the lineups where I'm looking at those 50 going, I'm totally expected to get 0 back from these, but I'm going to play these types of lineups every type of slate. But some people don't mind playing all 150 of those types of lineups. And then some people are like, they don't want to play anything other than the 150 of that they feel good about. And then what ends up happening is that they, 4 months go down the road and they're asking you like, it seems like I'm doing well, but I can never come in the top 10. And I'm like, yeah, because you're probably playing too many kind of safe-ish lineups.
Yep. And
you're not playing enough risky lineups. And then I have the other people that are like, I've been playing for 3 weeks and I've gotten back, like, I've lost 90% on like every single slate. And then they send me their CSVs and I look at their lineups and I go, geez, this is risky. I mean, like, you're playing 60% of some 1.5% owned guy that I probably played a ton of also, but like not to that extent. And I just have to tell her, it's like, you're not playing bad lineups. You're just playing extremely high variance lineups. And I hope you're only playing a very small percentage of your bankroll per slate, because you could easily go broke playing this way. But you're not playing bad. But neither person is playing badly. Right. Which is a different type of diversification.
Even the people that are just like, I haven't won in 4 days, and you're just like, yeah.
Well, those people you just have to tell that they're
4 weeks, 4 months. Like, trust me, that amount of time will get bigger. I promise you that. I love the green screen can there showing up as clear straight through the back.
Why not? Canada Dry. Why not?
I miss my green screen, man. I really do.
How do you put up with the people? How do you put up with the people that say I haven't won in 4 days?
Show them a screenshot of the swings is probably the easiest way to do it. People probably don't believe that it's the case. You just try to explain to them just the simple math of it. Like, okay, if 20% of this field pays out, how often do you think you should be in the money if you're average? I mean, most people think the answer should be like 75%. They are quite a bit off.
Right. Well, it's 20%. It's 1 out of 5.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Hello.
Exactly. So that's how frequently you should expect to see money back on that if you're just simply average. And if you're asking me this question, you're probably not average.
Right. Well, I mean, if this was, I mean, even in cash games, 4 days is not, 4 days is not enough. But if you tell me in 4 months that you have a 20% win rate in cash games, I'd say... Yeah. Like the sample size you need to show how bad you are at cash games doesn't have to be that long. But in GPPs, like, dude, if you're a good DFS player, you should have. And I tell this to people, you should get to a point probably at least once a year, maybe on average once a year, where you've been playing, you seem like you're playing fine, and you're losing. And you just have to consider that the last 5 years of your DFS career, you just happen to get lucky. Like, you're just sitting there going, maybe I've never been good at this.
Yep. It happens to everybody. It probably happens to everybody more than once in a given year, for sure. It all depends. And sometimes you just need to be, it's the order of the way that things happen. So obviously, previous guests on this show, Ship My Money, Adam and I talk all the time. We do shows together. Adam hit an NBA slate for 100K early, first week of the season, second week of the season. That changes the entire way you play NBA for the rest of the year emotionally. If you hit that in February and haven't had it before that, I assume your January is incredibly depressing. It just wears on you after day after day after day. When you get that out of the way early, you feel amazing. You don't feel like... I won a GPP on the first day of the baseball season in either like 18, I guess it was probably 2018. I felt like I was playing with house money for 6 months. It was fantastic. You don't wake up, you wake up, you look at your phone, you see if you won any money. On the days you lose in those situations, you don't feel bad at all. Now we're a month into the NBA season and I'm already looking at my phone the next morning like, well, that wasn't it again. Here we go into the next day. Every day. You got to get that. When you get that one out of the books, you feel fantastic. I don't understand how long it can take before that one actually is there. If you're still looking at you got to make sure you're looking at the rest of your data. I mean, I go Roto Tracker for me, looking at the distribution of results, the 1% lineups, the 0.1% type lineups, trying to look at that area. All right, am I at least giving myself a chance? Because if that starts dropping, then I'm probably doing something wildly incorrect. So far, so good, but I'm still getting truck sticked in NBA for the first month.
Now, what I like doing emotionally, like the past 2 years have been the complete opposites of one another. So like in 2020, we had obviously the COVID break, like gutted. I was on a downswing heading into that. So it's like, it's like 3 months of like nothing. And then like I won the slant in October in NFL, and that brought me into profitability. But like the entirely, I'm like, when is this going to happen? Like, am I going to actually have a losing year playing DFS? Like, which could easily happen. I mean, it hasn't happened to me, but it could easily happen. And then this year, I had the big MMA win. And then, and so it's like, so now it feels like you said, like you're not playing with house money. It's not like I'm entering Thunderdomes and, like stuff like that. But now that I'm on a downswing, I have the way that I try to factor it in emotionally is and a lot of people don't get this, that like if you've won 100K, that doesn't mean that you've won 100K. That means you've probably won like 70K because you've lost 30K. I mean, like, it's not one of those things like, oh, I've seen you won 3 GPPs for 100K, so you obviously won more than $300,000 this year. Like, no. Like, there are people that have won 3 GPPs for 300K that are down on the year. Depending on the volume that you play. But
that contest might be a little bit different, but like in the aggregate,
right,
you could be still in big time trouble.
Right, but what I do emotionally is I think like year over year type of thing. So like, for instance, winning 116,000 in MMA, going on a $30,000 downswing, like that's still like 80. I take a look at my yearly, at my yearly Roto Tracker, and I go, if I asked myself in January of this year that at the end of the year I'd make $90,000, would I be happy? And my answer would be yes. Yeah. So it's like, what does it matter that in the past 3 months, like it's gone down, like that is what it just so happened to work in this distribution. But last year was the opposite of, it was down, I'm negative, and now it comes up. So like how come in that term it's like that feels great, but now it's like, well, no, my graph always needs to go up. It's like, no, it doesn't. It's not gonna. It's like you have to come to that acceptance that your graph is never just going to go up.
Yeah, especially across a month, 2 months, 3 months, a full season, even depending. You can see some real craters, and I know you've seen it. I've seen it. I know I've seen other people's results. I don't think that most people understand how low the low gets before that next one tops it back off again.
It also depends.
You win that 100, you drop 40, you win another 100, you drop another 50, you win another, you hope to win 100, or you get slightly unlucky and you finish second and the swing is just, that's probably the worst part now. Not just the downswing, one additional rebound was 70 grand. Those are the ones that start to sting.
Yeah, but at least you're getting up there. I mean, I've the worst. I have the best self-inflicted bad beat of all time.
Hit me.
2 years ago in MLB, I'm the one that wants the flatter payout structures, right? Right. I like I want the flatter. It doesn't have to be 100K to first. It could be 50K. It could be 25K. Just make it so that the top 10 is like I could come in 7th and still make a decent amount of money. So
now you should want that 100K. I've watched your previous shows. What up, Chess?
But finally, it was 2 years ago in May, on that Friday, they finally decided to do what I wanted them to do. The 25,000 to first, 15,000 to second, 12,500 to third, 10. Normally it would be 50,000 to first, and then go down to there. That's the GPP I won. On the day they did exactly what I wanted, it's like, fuck you. I wanted all the other days, that's perfectly fine. And I hear Adam talk about that also. Like he prefers it. To me, it doesn't make any sense. I understand what he's saying. If you're going to play a contest consistently, you'd rather the payout structure be consistent because you don't know what day you're going to win, right?
I've heard some people say that that's not true too, but that's neither here nor there.
Well, how is that not true?
That there are people that think that we know what days we should be better and worse.
Well,
I've heard that.
In theory, we should, but truthfully, Josh, in theory, we should. It's just hard to. I mean, if let's say on an NBA slate, you see around the industry that some guy is being over projected and over owned, and you're like I think too many people are doing this. So to me, like if you're correct, you have more of an edge on that slate than you would on any other slate. So shouldn't you play more on those slates?
So in theory, yeah, absolutely.
Right. That's why I said in theory. It's hard to do that in practice. I'm just saying in theory that would be correct.
Right, like that edge that we're talking about is a pretty tiny number. It's not sending me into like, oh, now I need to register every tournament that exists today, which is, things that I've heard. The moment you think you have that, just straight push it all to the center. I've heard that sort of stuff talked about in this industry, which is just bonkers to me. Like, yeah, I might think I might be a little bit better off today. I don't really know how to like actualize that when I'm playing. Like, I'm already registered. Am I just going to get in like the third version of that tournament and just add a little bit more? I never know what the cutoff for that is, so I basically just play the same stuff every day.
Well, I mean, you might as well play the same stuff every day if you're going to spend 80 hours working on it.
It's not 80.
You mean your show in the morning? Your process show isn't 16 hours long?
It should be. I would like it to be. I wouldn't mind. That show just came about because I was going to do it anyway. I was just like, why don't I turn that into my own content, do less content that I don't want to do? I'm going to wake up no matter what, sit down at my desk with a coffee and project out the rotations for the day. I'm going to do that either way. Might as well just turn the camera on and let people join me for it. Luckily, they said yes to that.
Well, the same thing for me at 11 o'clock in the morning on Roto Grinders.
There you go.
I get up at 11 o'clock in the day, and people don't believe me. I learned how to play DFS from studying other players. So
Yep.
For download in 2015, 16, downloading CSVs,
Yep.
going through and seeing, what are these people doing that I'm not doing, and like not what players, just construction types and everything like that. So like my normal routine, and a lot of times I know what I'm looking for. Like it was a unique situation. I want to know how petty theft handled this. I want to know how this guy, so I'm not like studying for an hour. I used to do that way back.
Yeah.
But like my normal process is 11 o'clock in the morning, or whenever I get up, obviously, is I look at yesterday's slate and I go, let me take a look at some contests and whatever. Is there anything that, had I known this, I should have done that? Or, is there a construction type that I just didn't see? And it doesn't matter whether or not the sharp players won that day. It's just like, did I build my lineup very similar to Brick? Did I build my lineup similar to Alex? Like, even though our processes are different, right? But did we come to the same general spot? And if I see that, I'm like, it doesn't matter if I lost like 90% of my money. Yes, it's like,
yeah.
Like, what am I? I'd love to trade my results with their results. So like
for that day, yeah.
Right, but you see so much in this industry, people focus on studying the winning lineup, and it's like the winning lineup to me means nothing.
No, not at all. I mean, I talk about it a lot on shows where it's just like, that's sort of just like the worst lineup. Just because it overperformed doesn't make it like better or anything. You're most off from your projections from the beginning with that particular lineup. I'm not learning anything. Those are just the guys that played the best yesterday. They had outlier performances, probably 1 through 8 or 1 through 9, depending on which site we're talking about here. I'm not going to learn anything there. I need to know aggregate percentages across different groups of people. Otherwise, one lineup, if you're going to try to recreate the winning lineup from the day before and use that as like my new process for today, you're not gaining anything.
Yeah, but people try to do that.
They very much so. Yeah.
You know how many people in baseball, how many people in MLB will tell me it's like, well, it's like and especially in large field where people could just mash buttons, and if you get the 8 home runs from the single people, good luck to you. But there's enough people trying to do that eventually, 10% of the time there's going to be some weird fucking lineup up there. But then people will come to me. It's like, is stacking not a thing anymore? It's like, no, stacking's a fucking thing. Like no, that is the easiest way for you to win first place. Or they'll say they think they're smart by running the optimal. Right? They'll go into the previous days like the best possible lineup wasn't a stack. It's like the best possible lineup will never be a stack.
Probably unless they're hanging 26 or something in that particular game. No, you're going to get a 2-1-1-1-1-1-1 stack.
Right. And so why don't we play that lineup? It's like, well, your goal isn't to get the optimal lineup. Your goal is to beat 13,000 people in a contest.
Yeah, you don't need to string together 8 straight 2% optimal guys and hope that they're all the guys that hit 2 home runs for that particular day. That's going to be a pretty difficult endeavor. The reason you stack is because of the correlation of hitting that home run with 2 of your other dudes on base to try to make up for the fact that you don't have 9 individual bullets. Yeah, that one gets really crazy for baseball.
I tell people, if you want to build those lineups, you'd be better off just parlaying 8 home run props together.
Yeah, for real. That's what you're looking to do.
I'm saying you probably make more money even.
You certainly might. I mean, that's ultimately what you're saying. I think that all of these people are going to home run today or have. I mean, that's what you're hoping for. You know,
well, you have to do you do the
3 double type days.
You do the 8 home run props parlayed with the 2 pitching strikeout props.
Yes, exactly.
You build your own GPP lineup. Doesn't Alex do that? Doesn't he does the same game with the he does like I see him post those like 12 leg parlays of like I'm building my own GPP.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Oh my God, sports betting. I need North Carolina to get with the program.
Nothing. I wanted to ask you about soccer.
Hit me.
Because you play soccer DFS now. When did you start playing soccer DFS?
This year for me to care at all, although I did do our projections 2 years ago on the site or something.
Okay, so you're new. I was hoping that you were new. Because soccer is what I started with.
Okay. So I remember you saying that. Yeah.
Right. Soccer's my most consistently profitable sport. So
I've enjoyed it so far.
What you play? You play the large field.
Yeah.
Contest, which I don't know if you know that it never used to be that like top heavy. Like it used to be back in the day in 2015 when I started playing. It was an $8 contest with a $5,000 to first place, but it was 5,000, 4,000, 3,000, 2. Like it was like that. And now it's like 20,000 to first and $150 to 7th place. I can't even justify, like sometimes I build 5 to 10 lineups for that. But most of the time, like I'm primarily a cash game, high stakes, single entry type of player. So what is your takeaway as far as playing? It just, for me, all the soccer people that have been playing DFS it's the reason why I find it, I would tell people it's the sharpest cash lobby in all of DraftKings. Because
makes sense to me.
Because all the regulars are like it's literally the same lobby from 2015. I mean, like these are the same people, Pew and Saramek and Red Code and Moneyball and PSU and Fear My Turtle. Like, this is what I grew up. I mean, these are the people that like 2015. So so GPPs are, that obviously you get more casual money in there. What is your approach? Because it's weird for me to say that soccer, I have the least data-driven approach because I think many people don't understand that the range of that standard deviations of individual players could be dramatically different. That median projections are not. I see people at RG because we have soccer projections because Alex and Sean put them out, and they're trying to
see them.
Right. But they're trying to build cash lineups. Like they're playing 50-50s, low stakes 50-50s. And they're like, I'm just going to press the optimize button. I wouldn't fucking do it for soccer. It's like, because then it's like, why can't I play this guy? He's projecting for 15 points. It's like, yeah, if he scores a goal. And if he doesn't score a goal, he has 3.
He'll have 0. Yeah.
Right. Or something like that.
Nothing,
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Cristiano Ronaldo's like a decent example. He's not going to do anything on the pitch but score. If he does not score, he's going to get wrecked. He's not going to be involved in any other facet of that game for that particular day.
Right, but his projection implies a 65% chance of scoring.
Exactly.
So like his median on that game is going to be 8.
Yeah.
Right, but he's never going to score. It's very similar to the Hunter Renfroe types in baseball.
Sure. Yeah,
like their median will be 9, and it's like, oh, he's a good play. It's like, yeah, but if he's either going to hit a home run or strike out 4 times. So like you can't necessarily go by those medians. So how do you approach building GPP soccer lineups? It would be interesting for me to hear, only because I've been playing soccer DFS for 6 years, and I want to see what and it feels like I play soccer with that like 2015 style of DFS approach, only because I don't believe that soccer projections are worth that much, because like if you it's weird for me to say, Josh. I'm saying all the things that I compel people not to say, of like soccer, the difference in formations and the 11 players that they put out, because obviously teams rotate.
Yeah.
Like, could dramatically change the floors and ceilings of players that I'm not sure that, if you don't know enough about soccer, will understand in just simple little median projections.
Yeah, first and foremost, I'm approaching it just because I am a gigantic Liverpool fan. I'm meeting up with a group of guys every Saturday to go watch the games. This is a social aspect for me more than anything right now. But like the perfect example on a situation like that would be if Liverpool, we're talking about a 10 o'clock slate, and at 9 o'clock we find out that Trent Alexander-Arnold isn't playing for Liverpool. That dramatically affects everybody else on Liverpool, from the way that ball is going. Like the crosses are going to change pretty dramatically because you're going to have a different right back in there. The way that like Mo Salah and Sadio Mane are going to be involved offensively for Liverpool is going to change dramatically, and you get that hour to figure out what that impact is going to be, and then it's just done. There is no build up to that. You get that information, you figure it out, and then you're just there. And everything could be different from 8:55 to 9:05 just by that information of starting lineups, which I feel like doesn't exist in any other DFS sport.
Well, NBA, but it's easier to project that.
Right. The question marks of those projections don't feel all that problematic. Joel Embiid is out and we're going to Andre Drummond. Okay. Well, like we don't have to change too much here. We're bumping Tobias Harris. We're bumping Ben Simmons generally, but maybe not this year. Andre Drummond's going to look really good because he's cheap. But it doesn't immediately make me want to play the right back for Liverpool. But the long and short of this is that I am not approaching this with any sort of real plan. I'm jamming away with just the excitement of checking my phone at halftime to see how things are going, and then checking it when Liverpool is done. I haven't cared as much as I probably should. I'm just jamming away, and I just wanted to play because I've been watching more soccer.
So what do you just jam projections and that's it? Or I mean,
So I've been grabbing, not that I want to don't give up trade secrets or anything like that. I grab our projections from Osimo. I grab the RG projections. RG also has the ownership projections. So those are as many of the pieces that I'm very easily able to find right out of the gate. Trying to give them a little look-see. I completely threw out the projections that I had been making 3 years ago. It was not worth me maintaining that workbook to continue to do it. Blending them, that's a good word for this show. Blending them a bit, and then using the ownership projections along with me running like a quick sim based on those blended projections to, try to flatten out the ownership a little bit in spots, and then just treating it like everything else. Taking a projected lineup, comparing it to what I think the ownership will be in that particular lineup, which is tough in soccer. I mean, the error bars are just a little bit bigger on that one than it is for, say, basketball. Pretty easy to project basketball ownership at this point. And I'm just jamming away. I wish I had a better answer for you in this particular case, but it is fully just an entertainment product for me.
Okay. I was just interested. I mean,
we'll see where that's at next year. I might care. I might start to care more about it. And if I'm ever doing less, with having to do, it's hard for me to prioritize it after a week's worth of NBA content plus showdown slate content for Mondays, Thursdays, and Sundays. Sometimes I just don't want to be around DFS any longer, but I still want to feel something while I watch soccer.
Right. To me now, because of COVID especially, Saturdays are my favorite DFS days.
Love it. Soccer, You get
MMA.
Now college football if you want it, MMA at night.
Right.
It's great.
And I only got into MMA
NBA
because of COVID, because like there was nothing when Dana White brought it back. I'm like, there's nothing else for me to play. And then once I saw MMA, I'm like, once I saw the construction, I'm like, oh, this is like NFL Showdown. This is like, it's more about like not duping and everything. It's like, okay, like what else do I need to know? And then like projections wise, it's like it's all binary. So it's like all I have to do is look at betting lines and ownership and just like build lineups that hopefully other people don't have and then watch it, and the sweat is nice because it's like you know exactly where you are, what do you need, and soccer to me is the best sweat. Like Champions League group stage, Tuesdays and Wednesdays, it's like it's 2 hours long. All the halftimes typically line up, so you get that nice little bathroom break.
That's the best part of soccer, just in general. The fact that you know that you're out in 2 hours, full stop, no matter what. You know, like obviously there are situations where you're getting extra time in different contests, but like a Saturday, a 10 o'clock Saturday Premier League slate at noon, you know you're already done. Everything is, well, they might not be paying out so quickly, but you know what has happened at that point in time, and everything happened at the exact same time. I love that. I don't ever sweat NBA. I'm never up that late. I'll just wake up to tweets being like, hey, you're in first, really pulling for you. And then I wake up and I'm down 40%. It's like, stop tweeting me. I don't want to know this stuff. You want to tweet me when there's no minutes left? I would love for everybody to tell me about how awesome it is that I just won. Otherwise, all it is bringing me multiple times of sadness, which has happened at least 3 times just this season.
Well, in soccer, I like the fact that, especially in Champions League, where there's a lot more scoring, that it's 2 hours, and you could, and I know people say, well, in golf it happens, and on NASCAR it happens. You could go from first to last in a matter of 5 minutes, but like you could have lineups that's like, oh, I'm 22 points behind, and it's stoppage time in some of these games. It's like, dude, 3 goals could get scored right now, and you could win. I mean, like a lot of the guys above you have guys that have already been subbed out and whatever. Then you get the bonuses, right? Yep. You're sitting there going like, oh, I'm going to do really well. And then like your fucking goalie busts a fucking clean sheet. And it's like, what the fuck? And then you have the defenders correlated with them. So it's like, dude, I was counting on 16 points there. And
or,
it's like,
you know, a VAR, they take a goal away. And you're just like, oh, nice, I have this. He's low owned. And then 5 seconds later, you look up and he's offside by the width of my fingernail. And all of a sudden, you just want to punch everyone that you see.
Or when you have the team's penalty taker and they decide someone else is going to take the penalty.
Oh, so frustrating.
But you're right. To me, the edge in soccer DFS is the hour before lock.
Yep.
Like
if you're not paying attention for it, you're out of luck.
Because
you gotta be around.
Because I do the RotoWire soccer podcast, which comes out on Fridays, and we do the EPL slates, and you know, it's like we're going to talk from the projected lineup standpoint. But like half the time, you're talking. It's like, okay, you're probably plugging in this guy, that guy, this guy, and then next thing you know, like they got rotated out. Like the best play of the slate is no longer even in a lineup anymore. But also like the formations change. Like you know how many times, and I hate when they get bailed out. When you know it's like it's one of those. People go by the FOT mob or the SofaScore formations when they first come out, not when they've been corrected. Now, obviously, if you know the teams, you'll know.
It could be a little weirder in like Champions League with some of these squirrely teams. Premier League is probably going to be a little bit different.
But sometimes people
know those.
One of the common things in soccer DFS is that the defenders typically you don't want to play center backs on DraftKings. Right. You want to play wide or defenders that will attack. So what ends up happening is that, like, you know, you get Cesar Azpilicueta ends up being 28% owned. And I know when the lineups come out and I see, you know, I see Christensen and I see Silva and I see Azpilicueta and I see Callum Hudson-Odoi and I see Ben Chilwell or something like that. I'm like I know the formation is coming, like it's a 4-2-3-1. Like, no, Azpilicueta is playing as a center back. This is Chelsea plays with 3 center backs. I don't care what this formation on the screen says, but people will see that and go, well, he's 4,400 and playing for a -220 favorite. and then AC and dude, this
And he's
dude
never
has
gonna he's not getting forward. He's not pumping the ball into anything. He's in a very different spot than he would be if he were playing wide.
right. But the problem is
Azpilicueta is a great example there too.
right. But the problem is that it's the 68th minute. Hudson-Odoi gets substituted for Mount, and then Azpilicueta plays the wingback and gets fucking 2 assists or some shit, and fucking fuckers get bailed out again.
I was right until I wasn't.
Right. But that happens to a team like Leeds. Like a lot of people don't, because they have weird formations. Yeah, but these are, to me, like, I'm just highlighting things of like, these are things that are very hard to account for in projections. And even if they are accounted for, what you're looking at in the median range is like could be so wide that to go strictly, but the guys that have the lowest variance in median projections are essentially like the set piece taker types, where you could like project the amount of corners or free kicks, fouls, and say like, well, this guy is going to take 80% of them. There's probably going to be 12, on average. And, but those are obviously like, typically they're popular in cash games, right? I mean, like,
they're already going to be getting that sort of ownership. Yeah.
But you don't do anything in soccer where it's like, if you're going to play a center back, if a center back makes your lineup, make sure to pair the center back with the set piece taker of that team, because his ceilings are going to be tied to each other.
I will set some boosts and groups in Fantasy Cruncher for, even just like a goalie defender. I don't want it to have to happen, but, that's clearly a correlation where if there's a clean sheet, we're going to get it on both sides. So I will give a bump to say any defender with the goalie gets, an extra 5% to the projection before I run the crunch, or 10% to the crunch. I'll try to do a little bit from that perspective, but I won't do any hard and fast rules. Nothing too crazy. Right,
but you see the value in the if a center back scores a goal, it's most likely going to come from a set play.
Oh yeah, he's probably heading in a corner.
Right. So like that. But those are the types of questions that I want, like from a generally newer soccer DFS player playing in GPPs. Like it seems like you're more like, to me, truthfully, it seems like you're like, I'm just going to play a bunch of lineups and jam it in and just watch TV type of just
for
whatever.
Right now, yeah. I think when the NFL season ends, when we come back and I just have NBA, so probably we'll talk like late January, early February, I think that playing soccer DFS is going to take a bigger focus for me, because I'm really enjoying playing on Saturday mornings and sometimes Sunday mornings. And if I can poke my head into Champions League slates on the correct, like Wednesdays, I go to the gym, so I just don't have that kind of time for myself. But Tuesdays, I could probably do it. I want to play it more because it's the sport that I watch the most, and that's more fun. I'm worried I lose my fandom, though. That's the scariest part to me, because now I hate sports, and that bums me out.
No, you have to do what I do. When I was a sports fan, which I'm not. Well, the only reason I started with soccer and DFS was that's the only sport I watched. Like, I gave up on all the major sports probably in like 2003, but I continued watching soccer, and my friend was a Liverpool fan, so like I was a Liverpool fan. So I remember Istanbul. I remember in the mid 2000s and everything. But like once we got a team here in Louisville, like in the USL second division. I'm Louisville City, like they're my team, right? So like obviously there's no USL DFS, but like
not that I'm aware of.
Right. So to me, like that's where my fandom is. Like when people like who's your favorite soccer? Like it's Louisville City, and they go, no, really, what's your like? It's Louisville. We drugged like 12,000 people.
Whoever's in my best performing lineup is my favorite soccer team that particular day.
Yeah, but that's the way it is for me in NFL and NBA and everything like that. So I understand how it ruins your fandom, but you have to appreciate, like, you were watching soccer before playing all the other sports in DFS. Yeah. Do people not believe, I mean, once you're converted, you get it. Don't you think that soccer DFS is extremely underrated as a DFS sport?
Big, very, very, very much so. Because not even just from the DFS perspective, and I guess I'm probably putting my own opinions on this, but I also think it's like an incredible television product where sort of what we were just talking about before. This isn't 3.5 hours. You're not sitting through any commercials. You're going to watch this for 45 minutes. You're going to go to the bathroom, refresh your beer, get a drink, whatever you're doing. You come back 15 minutes later. You're going to watch the next 45 minutes. And now you're just done. It's already over. 2 hours, clean package. I know people get in on like the low scoring. I feel like they should make goals count for 7 so that people think that it's not low scoring. Like, just because we count touchdowns to be 7 in the NFL, like, people think that the NFL is this like high scoring machine in relationship to soccer. It's like, well, they count their points differently.
Last night's game, they were 5 touchdowns.
Right, there you
go. That's a 3-2 game in soccer. So what the hell's the difference?
That's the way that I like to look at it. Oh, it's so boring. It's like, I don't know. I see it differently. The crowds, which I never thought I would care about from a sports perspective, and then they all went away for COVID, and watching a soccer match with no crowd, particularly as a Liverpool fan who's got a pretty solid base from like, you hear the Liverpool crowd always if they're at Anfield. Love it. You don't have that sort of thing in the NFL. Nobody's going crazy like that. College football, sure, I guess, but I think it's such a great product on television. I'm hoping that starts to grow and grow more and then grows the DFS product, but I'm with you from what we said before. It's a great sweat. It's so much better than I think it might be the best sweat.
It is. That's what I'm saying. It is.
A Sunday major golf is different in that you get like the esteem of that particular event. Like a Sunday sweat at the Masters in DFS is going to be fun for you, but it's not going to be as fun if it's like the Barbasol Classic.
Right. No, but the thing that I never understood about soccer DFS is that's like, soccer is extremely popular. It's not like it's very like we have golf milli makers, we have MMA, we have NASCAR. Like, it just seems so odd that like Champions League and Premier League soccer aren't as big DFS wise. I mean, I think I know the reason why.
It's easy. It's not an American product. We're arrogant as a group of people.
No, but I don't think. But I don't think that. I think people that play DFS don't care as much about that. I think it's more of the fact that
I think the casuals do.
Yeah, but that's not who I'm talking about. I'm talking about that. I think DraftKings never put the money into it. Sure. Like for PGA. Like they put the money behind PGA. They put the money behind NASCAR. They put serious money, and they did content. Like they had Pat Mayo doing PGA stuff or whatever, and they just never did that. They did it during the World Cup, right? And I did a bunch of content for them during the World Cup. But like the problem is that like during the World Cup it was 100,000 to first like every day during the World Cup. And this was even when the US didn't qualify, right? So, right? So, like, but they never, like, once it was over, they just decided it's like, we're just going to forget about soccer, even though EPL starts in a month. And they never converted anyone. Like, they didn't, like, they just, like, that's the end of our campaign, and we're just going back to normal. And I'm like, my whole hope during that World Cup was, this is when soccer DFS becomes a thing. And the thing that pissed me off so much about the World Cup is that so many goddamn center backs scored, and then they would get even more on. Did you play during that World Cup or no? You didn't play.
I didn't.
Imagine.
Actually,
okay.
As weird as it sounds, I barely watched it.
Really?
Yeah.
But imagine.
I know that's insane. I am legitimately a huge soccer fan. I barely watched it. Maybe barely is not the right. I probably barely watched it for someone that like people would expect to watch it a lot. I didn't watch nearly as much as everyone's expectation would have been for how much I would have watched.
But this is how
once we got into eliminations, like the round of 16. Like once we started paring it down, then I was fully in. I didn't watch as much in like the group stages.
But imagine playing Premier League slates over and over again, and James Tarkowski scores a header goal, right at 3,200, and the very next slate they price him up to 4,600.
Yeah,
and then he's 32% owned. And scores again. That was the world. That was the World Cup.
He probably shouldn't be 3.2% owned.
Right. And Sweden has a center back Lindqvist, that takes their penalties. So imagine
a lot of those. Sergio
I
Ramos type people.
I think on one slate he was like, he's a center back. Remember he has like other than that he has no floor, no nothing. Nope. He was like, I think he was 4,700, which is a lot for a center back on. Nope, got a penalty in the 88th minute, and he was like 38% owned on a 3-game slate.
That's such a bad play.
Right, but that's how frustrating the World Cup was. It's like we had Yerry Mina. He scored 2 games in a row, like all these, because it was all off of set plays, and it was all these center backs. And the thing is that especially with so many casual people playing with these bigger World Cup contests, all you had was these game logs from the World Cup. So you're like, well, this guy scored 16 points last game. I'm just going to play him again. And then he just scores again.
Now I'm really excited for next year.
Well, next year it's going to be during the winter. Next year, oh my God, it's going to be during football. It's going to be in November.
That's fine with me. If I have my druthers, I won't talk about football any longer.
Yeah, but how do you do the World Cup next year? You're going to have NBA, NFL at the same time also. And the World Cup.
I'm hoping that I can stop touching anything that involves the NFL. That's
why. What's
hope.
wrong with the NFL?
I hate it. I hate the NFL so much.
The games are horrible.
To me, it's an incredibly awful product to watch. I don't understand. I don't get the appeal. I really don't. And I was a monstrous NFL fan. Maybe it was a video game thing for me for the longest time. I don't really play like Madden, or the NCAA football game is gone. I'll probably start playing that again once that comes back, now that we can pay college players. But Red Zone helps for sure. To watch an individual NFL game is brutal. It's just boring. It's just so boring. I mean, they're turning it into our shows now with the NFL games in the background. It's like the Madden streams. I mean, it's just Peyton and Eli on the side of the screen in the same overlay that we have, and they're chopping it up. That's a better way to watch the NFL games as far as I'm concerned. But I don't want to watch set of commercials, touchdown off of a timeout, set of commercials, extra point, set of commercials, kickoff, set of commercials again. I don't know how people do that. It's so awful to me. So awful. I hate it so much.
Yeah, but I could say the same thing. The one thing the sport I never got watching on TV is basketball.
Ooh, really? Okay, tell me why.
To me, I find basketball to be extremely boring. I actually think basketball is the most boring sport.
Oh, fascinating.
But it's the reason why and there's been studies on this as far as like the psychological reasoning. Why people find soccer boring but find basketball exciting is the exact reason why people find the opposites to be true. So in basketball, there's a lot of action, but none of the actions have that much jeopardy. Right. So I watch the first quarter of a basketball, and I'm like, why don't I just tune in the last 5 minutes? Like, what do any of these baskets matter? And then you combine it to the fact that the NBA regular season kind of doesn't matter. So it's like, so why, like, what? I have no emotional investment in, even if I'm as a neutral, it feels like it doesn't matter who wins this game. In soccer, in the Premier League, there's no playoffs. It's 38 games, and you got to win. I mean, it's like, there's no whatever. And at any moment of the match is the most important moment of the match. Like, the goal can be scored at the second minute, and that is the most exciting part of the entire match. So you have to watch the whole thing. Like, at any moment, something's going to happen. So I got to be on the edge of my seat going, okay, they're bringing the ball up this way. They're going sideways. Okay, there's the run. Here's the through ball. Oh, missed it. It's out on the goal. There's going to be a goal kick. Like, to me, that's exciting because all of the plays and all of the actions have some form of jeopardy to them because, one, goal scoring is not like there's going to be 200 baskets in an NBA game. What do I care about one three-pointer? I don't. But a one goal means a lot in a soccer game. Massive. And then the season matters because there ain't no fucking playoffs. So, like, you just got to fucking win games. And if you're a mid-table team, you're probably not going to win first, but you're trying to come in fourth. You're trying to get a Europa spot. You're trying to get a Champions League spot. If you're on the bottom, some of the best games are the games at the end of the season between the two teams at the bottom of the table. Yeah. They're trying to stay in the Premier League. So, like, to me, the most exciting game of the entire year that I try to watch every year is the championship playoff final. right?
Sure.
In Wembley, because the two teams that are
somebody's playing to go up. Yeah.
right. It's considered the richest game in the world because the team that wins gets the most, goes up and gets like God knows how much money from the Premier League contract. And I like seeing like the guy like Bournemouth or something, like they haven't been up in the first division in 116 years, right? Like
it's incredible. It's incredible.
So that to me that's why the soccer product to me is much more compelling than NBA basketball.
So I agree with you, but I just think that that's a product of American sports and money to a degree. Like I wish the NBA went to a 58-game schedule where they played every single team from a home and home and didn't go to the playoffs. Like I'd be perfectly fine with that. Don't even get me started on baseball. 162 games is insanity. That they can cut that season.
But they make too much money on the NBA playoffs to not have playoffs.
Right. I understand why it will never become that. But if it were me, I would want every sport to be like soccer and have promotion and relegation, no playoff setup in that way at all, a completely balanced schedule. I would be totally fine with that.
Right, send the Thunder to the G League. What's wrong with that? And bring up Fort Wayne, Indiana into the NBA, right? Like
there's no the Premier League, that so and so is tanking. It's like no, they're not. They will never do that. No one wants to get set down. It is like financial suicide to do it. No one wants to be sent down. That's just not happening. But the Thunder aren't going to be good for years.
But don't you think it's weird that in the United States, the American style of sports is extreme socialism, and the European style of sports is extreme in soccer and the rest of the world, like a multi-billionaire could just buy your team and just buy all the players, and there's no salary caps. There's supposedly financial fair play, but FIFA is corrupt as fuck, so that doesn't matter. So we'll see have what these
Newcastle does
teams
over the next couple of years.
Right. Newcastle, right. I mean, because from when I started watching soccer, like Man City was the mid-table team. Like even Chelsea, until Abramovich bought Chelsea. Chelsea was like, okay, Chelsea's they're hanging around in 12th place or something like that. Or the big teams were Liverpool and Arsenal and Man United and Tottenham, I guess, a little bit or whatever. But I mean, I remember like the Ajax teams from the mid-90s that won the Champions League. But people don't realize that I can't watch soccer. Soccer is not American. It's like, no, it is actually the most American. It is the feel free, win 7-0 and feel free to bankrupt your opponent. It's completely fair play for teams to go into administration, and you get penalized for it. It's not like in NBA. If you tank in NBA, it's like we'll give you the first round draft pick. Like in the football in the FA, dude, if you mismanage your team's finances, they dock you 25 points and say get the fuck out of here. You're going down to the conference. Like shouldn't Americans want that type of system?
I love it. I love it. It'll never happen, but I love it. If the NBA had promotion and relegation, it would be wild. And I feel like they can support it at this point too.
I think
they don't have the money. You can't cut 100+ playoff games. People lose their minds.
I think the reasoning behind that, Josh, the reasoning behind it is not we're stating the symptom and not the cause. So when you say that, we can't relegate the Thunder to the G League because they'll lose all this money. Well, we don't understand. The reason why they will lose all this money is because, unlike the rest of the world, like the way that I described how soccer as a community-based sport is much more similar to college football. It's one of those things here, especially I fight with people here in Louisville about it, and we have we're the highest drawing USL team in the league. So we have our own state. Like we're actually a very successful USL team. Okay, but here in Louisville, people obviously Louisville's big into college basketball, right?
Sure.
People will say, I'll go to the soccer games when they have a professional team. And I go, we are a professional team. It's like, but you're not an MLS. It's like, so? It's like, So it's like, well, you're in a division that they view it in terms of like a AAA baseball team.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, we're a professional team in a professional league. We just happen to be in the tier below MLS. Now, in any other, obviously, across the world, we're the only team in the history of soccer that has won the second division title 2 years in a row, right? Because the rest of the world, you can't do that because you'd be in the upper right. You wouldn't be able to
got promoted.
Right, you got promoted. So, but in talking to people here, especially since I come from New York City, where college sports wasn't much of a thing. St. John's, I guess, really. in the 80s, maybe somewhat. I say to them, why do you follow UK or U of L, like Louisville basketball and Kentucky basketball? It's like, well, they're great because, like, but it's I'll watch U of L when they're in the NBA. Right, and they don't understand what I'm saying. Like, I'm saying the same thing that you're saying, and you have to acknowledge that you follow U of L basketball because there never was an NBA team here in Louisville. So you got attracted to the highest level of basketball that there was in your community, and you supported it. And it happened to be the college team. High school sports in Texas are the same exact way.
Yeah, go catch a Permian game.
Right. But the reason is because the community says, we like football, we like basketball. What's our team? It doesn't matter that they're not in the NFL. It doesn't matter. It's your team. But soccer is that way. That's why when teams get relegated, it's not like, all the money go like no, they're still getting 20,000 people a game. I mean, like their teams in the fourth division, they're getting 8,000 people a game because that's the team from the town that you supported, your father supported, your grandfather supported.
Yeah.
It's the same mentality. I think if we had that same mentality where like G League teams like got supported like because it was your local basketball team, then I don't think it would have been as big of a deal to have promotion and relegation. I think it's the byproduct of that. We view college sports like that, but in the rest of the world, I talk to people in the UK because I used to do a football. I used to play the Football Manager video game like obsessively.
I play it right now.
Right. And they find it confusing that we follow college teams. So it's like no one cares about the university teams here, right? Because they
Unless have there.
Right. But we do because that's our version of like the lower division.
Yeah.
But to me,
which is also how college sports should probably work. You can very easily set up a promotion and relegation system in college football. Why not?
But we have independent
more likely to watch it. If there were look, how many teams would you need? 11, 12, something like that? Send down the bottom one. You play each team once. I would be in for that for college football. I would probably watch college football again if they had like an ultra league and demoted people.
But isn't that the worst thing to happen? You would want a super league in soccer? I mean, that to me that's the antithesis. You would want everyone. I like the fact, like to me, why I like the NCAA tournament. It's like if you win your league, you're in. I mean, like it's like you could win the Ivy League and you're maybe the 14th seed or something like that. But it feels like every conference and everything has its place. Of course, the at-large bids tend to go to, the fourth place team of the big division instead of something else. But
ninth best team in the ACC.
Right. But technically, they're probably the team that should be in because the fourth best team out of the Horizon League probably shouldn't be in the tournament. But like I like that concept more than in college football. You really can't do it because I remember when I watched college football. I mean, I haven't watched in God knows how long. That was all done by polls. There was no BCS. There was no. It's just like the bowl games were. The Rose Bowl was what it was the. It was the whatever win the Pac-10 winner versus the Big Ten winner, and it's like you'd have the number 1 team facing the number 10 team, the number 2 team in the Peach Bowl, and then it's just like after these games, whatever the AP poll was, you're the national champion, and I'm like, there got to be a better way than this fucking way to do it.
Yeah, that was probably not the best mechanism that we ever put together. It's got to be at least a little bit better now. You mentioned the Super League before. I obviously don't want that to happen. I'm not at all surprised that it did at least try to happen, and I expect it to happen at some point in time, just from a money perspective. Like, money will dictate most of these decisions. It's not going to make my enjoyment higher. I think that happens sooner rather than later.
What?
Do you think it's going to happen?
The Super League?
Yeah. No. Obviously, maybe not the Super League as presently constituted. That got stepped on pretty quickly, but I think it happens eventually.
I don't think so.
Really?
No. That's what the Champions League is. I mean, that's what the Champions League is what it should be.
Sure. Look, I don't want it to change. I am very happy with the status quo of trying to win a Premier League, trying to win a Champions League, and being done with it. I think it's a great product.
Right.
If they're going to be cutting... I mean, that's sort of what we're talking about from the Thunder's perspective. The big teams want to cut out any of their downside risk. And the Thunder don't have any. They are not going to get relegated or lose out on revenue. In fact, by paying some of these guys so little, they're actually going to get more money for doing it, which is bonkers to think about. I think we might end up seeing that at some point in time. You know, that's why I think we saw someone like Tottenham be there, where it's like, I don't want to have to worry about if I qualified for Champions League or Europa League. I want that check no matter what. And that gets scary. When it becomes such a money decision,
in that type of world, we don't get things like Leicester City 3 years ago.
Yeah, I don't want it to happen at all. That Leicester story was incredible. I mean, would I have preferred Liverpool to win the Premier League that particular year over Leicester and never get that story? Absolutely, 100%. But that's, to even explain that to people
don't get, like, I try to explain like that what Leicester City did. And then people are like, "Oh, that's like if the Jets won the Super Bowl." It's like, no, that's like if the Jets went 15-1, and I mean, you would in winning the Super Bowl, that would even be too, like, you would have to make it. It's more like
if a AAA team winning base like the World Series, but they don't have an affiliation with the team that was above them.
No. Well, I think it's more of the regular season. Picture the Thunder going 76-6.
Yeah.
Because the whole point is that like we're used to playoffs where it's like, well, as long as you sneak into the playoffs, you could win 3 games and win the title.
Yeah, you got to be good for 38 games.
Right, you have to be good, and you have to have the best record after 38 games, having the second lowest payroll in a league that there is no salary cap of.
5,000 to 1 or whatever to win the
right, and that was probably bad odds. So it should have been 50,000 to 1,
and yet they did it, which was just nuts and awesome. What an incredible story.
If this was DFS, what would be the Super League? Like, how do we determine who the best? We have all these screenshots on Twitter.
Why isn't there one?
Why isn't there a Super League of DFS? I thought Alex and Big T and Whistles are doing they're becoming the GOAT. Is that the Super League?
I don't know. All I saw was playing blackjack in a pool in a video. I think it was blackjack.
But do you? I've always thought, I've said to DK, because I'm in the VOP thing, that why didn't DFS turn into what like poker was, where you have personalities, and I know that's not a televised product, you can't make it, but with the way Twitch streaming, like why couldn't you make DFS player personalities in some type of Super League type of, like, whatever type of thing, and then like every day, like you have 50 people, you know, the 50 pros or whatever, sponsored pros, whatever, and then there'd always be like 3 or 4 on Twitch sweating the games like every night. And you knew these, and you knew, oh, this guy's you have the Phil Hellmuth type, you have the, you know, like all these types of people. And it's like, you're playing in the same, now there's this Super League contest that obviously you're not able to play in, but obviously these guys are also playing, you know, in all the other contests on the site. And it's like, you tune in, it's like a sweat show type, like, why wasn't that ever done, like, as a concept by the sites?
I have no idea. Why aren't there actual standings? Nobody aggregates it. Nobody puts it out there. It's available. Everybody, at least from a DraftKings perspective, or if you want to start scraping FanDuel, I'm shocked that stuff doesn't get posted constantly.
Well,
no one talks about it.
No, but there's a reason why no one talks about it.
Sure.
Well, maybe there's two reasons no one talks about it. I think you're thinking of a different reason than I'm thinking of.
What are you thinking of?
Okay, so what we're talking about is all the DraftKings data outside of maybe the head-to-head lobby, obviously.
Yeah.
Is public. I mean, like you could all of that we have in a results DB. FanDuel you could scrape. So like that's not you could get that also. It just takes more work. And I know people that have that information.
Absolutely.
Right. Cal at RotoGrinders, obviously pocket fives, obviously in poker there was something called Shark Scope.
Yep.
Where all this where you could basically find out all this information. Cal with the RotoGrinders rankings, obviously we all know that it's volume based.
Yep.
Right? It counts your wins, but it doesn't really count any losses. He didn't want to make a Shark Scope because it's bad for the ecosystem because the bad players don't want to be highlighted as bad players. So you'll scare them if they know that everything's being tracked. Like it runs them off more than it keeps them there. So from a good player's perspective, you don't want to embarrass bad players, especially whales, right?
Right. Oh, 100%. You want them coming back.
Right. So that's when I say that why people don't talk about it, the two reasons. Number one is that people that do content that are losing players don't want people to know that they're losing players. That's the one that I thought that you were talking about. Yeah. But yes. I think that the good players don't want the bad players to be embarrassed. Because, I literally, I could go to the RotoGrinder standings and look at the top 50 and show you 10 players that are lifetime losers.
Yep.
That are that people know, and people think are winners, but they're and when I mean lifetime losers, I mean massive losers.
Yes.
Massive losers. I mean, massive
it
losers.
Helps to have a lot of money to start.
Right. I'm talking about
From somewhere.
I'm talking about 7+ figure losers lifetime.
God. Yeah.
Okay. I know who they are, and the good players know who they are. But if I were to point them out, maybe they stop playing. So, to me, that's the reason why no one talks about it. And it's also the reason why, DFS Twitter is like just chirp fest. But anyone that's good knows what's up.
Yeah.
But it's very similar to the poker. Like I was never this type of person. I was friendly with everyone. But let's just say you're more friendly to the whales, right? It's very very common in especially since I played in like the private games in New York City, the underground, smaller clientele. It's like you wanted to be nice to the guys that would lose $5,000 a week playing poker.
Yeah.
So
like sit at that table next week.
Right, but also you were even friend like dude, I would go out to dinner with people or whatever, and some of these people were nice people. Like, I'm not doing anything nefarious, right? It's like, no, you legitimately, it's someone that's retired that obviously has tons of money, but just enjoys hanging out because they're retired or whatever. And it's like, oh, we're all going down to Atlantic City or whatever like that. We got a room in the suite. Why don't you come on down? And we're hanging out and we're like that type of shit. But I also know in the back of my head, it's like, I like this guy in my game all the time. So like this is also a benefit to me.
He's down $150,000 over the past 3 months.
Right, but to me, that's more of the reason, because it's too easy. I mean, it's too easy. But there's enough sharp players on Twitter, in social media, that could easily just say, here's all the scraped data that I have for the past 7 years, and the guy that you think is great, fucking massive loser, or the guy that you think is great, fucking hasn't played in 3 years, played $10,000 worth of volume in the span of 3 years. So what the fuck? They're not going to do that because, what benefit is there? Truthfully, what benefit is there to do it? Wouldn't you want anyone that's doing content that doesn't play is only benefiting me, right? Because giving out information that sucks, right?
Should suck,
right? But sucks more than not. And then anyone that's just dumping money don't I want them to continue dumping money? So like, why would I want to point that at? I don't want to point that at the table, at the poker table. Hey, you're a horrible player. I mean, it's the same mentality. Now the thing is that a lot of these the big lifetime losers in DFS, I'm not really playing in those contests a lot of times.
Yeah.
But to me, that's the reason why that doesn't exist. And without that, like, what's the scoreboard? Because to me, whenever anyone like beats their chest over like scoreboard, it's like my number one response is show me your rotor tracker.
Yeah.
Like you show me, like I don't mind showing my rotor tracker. Here it is. And yeah, I'm a mid stakes player, right? Like someone called me out fucking like 3 weeks ago. Is it such a brag that you only won $500,000 in 6 years? And I'm like to most people that play $90,000 a year is pretty fucking good. I mean, I'm not trying to brag. I'm just showing this is what my results are. And 91% of people, 92% of people do not make money lifetime playing DFS. So this is,
let alone that much money.
Right. Let alone that much money.
What's the proportion of players that made that wasn't just I binked the milli once.
Right. But what would the scoreboard be then? Like you say that the Super League, like how do you get away from like realistically it should be what you're talking about, a shark scope type of thing.
Sure.
But how could it be something where there actually is like there are winners and losers, that it could be, you know, that or does that not exist? It's just that we play DFS the way we play DFS, and just Giant Squid has a win, and there you go. Okay, Great Poupon or whatever his name is, right? That boom, there you go. Like,
so it's not even necessarily so much of a scoreboard. It may be just like almost like a set of checks and balances, where I'm mostly just saying I'm surprised, because all it takes is one person. This data is so readily available, and we're generally in an industry of people that can massage data pretty quickly. This can get put together in very little amount of time, particularly from DraftKings.
Also, people don't realize this data is also shared privately amongst people.
Also true. Some of these questions are known answers.
Right.
That you don't have to.
Right. That's why I understand what you're saying. It's like, how come this has not been published?
Right. So many people know this information that I'm surprised that it hasn't just become a thing. But what's is Excellent Eights? Is that the DraftKings tournament for the NBA? I play more on FanDuel. I think.
Yeah, but now it's $18. It used to be an $8 contest. I don't know.
Something in that. We can use the slant as the proxy from the NFL, but I think that's a bad example because you only get 18 of them now. But like whatever a slant equivalent is on DraftKings over the course of the NBA season, I'd love to know, because I don't care if someone won 3 times, but didn't have any seconds or thirds or fourth, but somebody finished second, third, and fourth. Like I don't care too much about that. I'd like to know who's constantly putting lineups into the best section of that contest. How frequently are most people hitting that 1% threshold, or hitting even if you just want to like lump it into generic top 10s, because I think we're probably on the same boat here. The difference between finishing first and second is nothing that you can actually control any way, shape, or form. You do just get more money for the first. You're not better or worse for finishing first or second. I don't think that there's a distinction there. I'm surprised that someone hasn't just aggregated all of that information to say like, oh, so-and-so is hitting 1.9% of 1% lineups in his contest, in this contest that has what amounts to the exact same people in it from a 150 max perspective every single day for 6 months. I think you create a pretty good cross-section of what power rankings of DFS could look like for that particular style too. Because that's one thing. People think it's just all the same thing. There's a very big difference, I think, from saying that you're a great 150 max player to being a great cash player. Different setup, different everything.
Small field single entry GPPs. I mean, like everything is different.
Right. You can have this for a couple different spots, but I would love to see just a basic profile. The winnings portion of it is certainly good. You don't want to find out that the content that you've been watching, this guy's taking a bath from 2016 to 2021, but I think it's there to find out, like, what are people actually doing? And I think it could lead I tend to agree with you that you don't want to point out the negatives, but I think it could lead to just generally better content in general and get you away from the picks mentality of what so many people want videos to be.
Yeah, but what's the benefit of like,
the benefit is how much traction can that particular website get from the person that does it? I'm not saying it's a benefit to anybody other than the person that does it.
I just think it's too I don't think people give a shit enough.
You don't think people would want to check standings regularly?
Not like that. I've always thought this would be something that the sites would do. So have a professional league. So essentially, every season or every year or every 3 months, like you have 100 players, and they pick and they choose, and they can choose any arbitrary way they fucking want to, right? Because it's their site. It's a closed thing. So it's 100 of these guys. So you have, and it's a single entry, 100 people, and they compete. There's a schedule even.
Sure.
Right.
Oh, so we're talking to me, that's also something that I think I'm very surprised that has never happened. But to me, I see that a little bit differently than the tracking of everything that we've had.
Right. But I'm talking that you have to have some type of structure. If instead of saying like, well, if you won $1 million, you qualify for this tournament of champions, and if you qualify for this live fight, like I prefer you pick 100 people, and you play, and you're gonna play 50 events over the course of a year, and you may have all 4 golf majors, you may have 2 MMA cards, you may have like 10 NBA slates, 10 MLB slates. Maybe the entire NFL season, maybe because it's so popular, NFL, you do all the weeks. And that's the season of DFS.
So and basically the Empire Maker Osimo challenge from a year ago or whenever the hell that was in the Thunderdomes but larger scale.
Right.
More people.
And it's a non-entry fee thing because you're invited. 100 people are invited. And you play 50, and you get points for each part of this, just like you would in a payout structure. And then obviously at the end of the season, it's whatever, 100,000 to first, to 50, whatever the payout structure on the points are. And then the bottom 20 people get relegated. Yep. And then they bring, whatever. And then they bring 20 new people. They look throughout the tour, who's won Millie Makers, and also obviously they have a PR department. So it's like, if they're going to do the idea where, you go on Twitch and stream, they want personality people.
Yep.
So maybe they grab some, people that play well. It still has to be good, profitable players, but just okay, they're a good personality on Twitch and whatever. And then you run that again. And then that's the scoreboard. It's a convoluted. It's not truly who the best player is, but it's kind of like the pro. It's like, it would mean a big deal if you're one of the 100 people in the pro league. Like that's a star you could put on yourself. It's like, no, I'm in the professional DraftKings player.
Yeah. And it's like the team that wins the Super Bowl isn't necessarily the best team in the NFL. And I think that's the same sort of distinction. It doesn't necessarily make you the best player, but it does a much better job than the nothing that we currently offer.
Right. And if you're on an NFL team, you're at least on an NFL team. You have to be a good football player to be on an NFL team. Yes. Right? You have to be a good basketball player. You could be the 12th guy on the basketball team, but you're still the 12th guy on an NBA basketball team. Exactly. Right? Type of thing. So I think there's some prestige there also.
Because obviously someone at FanDuel and DraftKings has had to have this conversation before, and probably multiple times. There had to be pushback, right? Or did it exist already?
Well, I think maybe there was pushback because I think both sites, especially DraftKings, don't for DFS purposes at least, never thought more than 3 months in advance.
Fair.
So to me,
and also, I mean, now they probably don't care at all,
right?
Because it's not sports betting,
right? It's not casino.
So
it's not really. That's where it's sports betting is one
something
thing.
That would have needed to happen 3 years ago,
right? No, this would have to be something that would happen 6 or 7 years ago.
Sure,
right? But that would.
I still think it should.
I still think it should also. But I think the main thing is that now I think the number one obstacle for that, and you've seen when DraftKings tries to do content, is that you either have to do it, you have to be all in on doing that, or people will not be. People will care about their own lineups more than someone else's lineup. So you can't come from the approach of that. You have to come from the approach of you have to build personalities.
Absolutely.
It's not you don't care that like the World Series of Poker in 2003. Like it was not about how good of a player Sammy Farha was. It was was the cigar. It was the character. Obviously, these are all good enough players that they advanced in the WSOP. But you had, the professor, Howard Lederer. Like, he didn't have much of a personality, but they made him into a personality. They made Chris Ferguson into a person. But you have to have some type of long-term vision to think like that. The problem is that, truthfully, in DFS, a lot of the top players don't have a personality.
That's a true statement. Or maybe that's not even the best way to say it. It's not necessarily immediately conducive to like hosting and running a video. You know what I mean? Like they do, but this is a very different. I'm not me in real life the way that I am on this camera. I am more right now than I used to be because I think it's just easier, but you have to be up more. There's an energy that you have to provide. Otherwise, no one really wants to watch. So like I have to be a more animated or more active speaker. I can't be that 24/7. It's a very much calmer demeanor.
It's exhausting.
Generally speaking.
It's exhausting.
Yeah. You have to get, especially like 6:30 a.m. show. I have to mentally think about getting. I've been awake for an hour before that show starts. I have to mentally think about knowing that people are watching me, pushing my voice out further, thinking about being active on that stream. Otherwise, if it's just me slumped typing, which was 2016 Josh videos, I look back at it and it's just like, why did anyone keep watching this? I'm not exciting to watch. And now I think about it in such a different manner where I don't want to say that I'm being phony on this stream because that's not true. I just have to elevate my baseline so that I can keep you engaged because the goal for me is to make sure that you don't turn this stream off when it starts.
Now, the best way to put it, because I did stand up for 15 years, is that I am who I am, but on stage I'm an exaggerated version of myself.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly.
So like, am I a sarcastic asshole in real life? Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I kind of am. But I'm not. Yeah, am I blunt in real life? Yes. But I'm not a dick. Most people, like my wife says, you on the shows, you put off like people you're much nicer than people think that you are. I go, I know. But it's more entertaining for me to be like this.
Yeah,
it's more
entertaining. I'm not speaking to like a stranger at the grocery store this way.
Right. But just in real life in general, like just hanging out with, like, I was at the RG Super Bowl party. Like, I'm just a normal, I'm not like, hey, you're stupid. Fuck you. And I'm like, I'm not, no, right. This is, yes, that is my personality, but it's not like I'm not going around like that's.
I'm not, right. I'm not looking to provide that feedback to people.
Right. But on a stream, why not have a Saturday stream and call it Stupid Saturday? Answer stupid fucking questions, and people like showing up and seeing me yell at people for being stupid. And it's like, do you really think they're stupid? It's like I'm getting, or people Probably. On my YouTube channel go, you really got to tone down in your anger management. I go, I'm not really angry. Do you not understand that I'm not angry at all? Like. I'm just trying to entertain you. When this camera goes off,
like I'm not taking this with me. I'm not stewing about it on the couch after this, or like having to go to a vent session or a therapist. No, this is it ends when you click stop streaming. Like it's not. I'm not taking this stream with me. That's insanity.
Right, just like
people think like, oh, are you worried about a lot of trolls are out to get you in the chat? It's like I could not care. It's hilarious to me that someone would take the time out of their day to even care. I'll get people showing up now. I don't know who this is. If you are listening to this, you've been doing this gimmick for 3 years now. They call me a Chinese spy. This is just one guy pops in, bots. Josh Engleman is a Chinese spy. ban that, recreates another one over and over and over again. This has been multiple years now. To think that I have somehow affected someone's life so much that I just come on here and talk about sports and they're like, oh, Josh is on. Got to make a fake YouTube account to just call him a Chinese spy and chat. That's a thing that someone does on their in their free time. I can't imagine caring about someone that much.
But why a Chinese spy?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
But it's very similar, like in stand-up, like after a show, like hanging out with people from the crowd or something at the bar or whatever, or people asking, it's like, oh, you're not as funny in real life. Like they think that I'm just, like, no, this is prepared material that I'm doing as a performance. Like, it doesn't mean I'm not a funny guy off the stage. It's just that, like, what you saw is my job, and what you're seeing now is me as a person. I'm not in the mental, you know how mentally exhausting it is to have to act on the moment to stuff like that on stage? Like, I don't want to this is just me. If I say something funny, it's organically like that, but I have no problem talking about fucking sports or video games or, like, you meet a bunch of comedians, like, the stand-up comedy community, to me, I view as the smartest community I've ever been involved, because you have to be smart in order to do stand-up. Just the performance and writing aspect of it. Most comics, when they hang out, we're talking about politics or the books and literature and some type of philosophical thing. And the reason that, and what makes stand-up comics great is that it is the most objective. I'm saying we, I haven't done stand-up in 5 years, but most objective people. There's no such thing as, like, there's no offense. It's just like, it's like everything is up to a debate. If you want to argue that the Holocaust was great for the Jews, like, what's the argument? I mean, because we're just viewing everything from a very objective, because that's how you treat all comedy writing. It's like all comics, like, no, like, dude, people have done, like, I've heard people, do, like, Jewish humor, right? Like Holocaust jokes. It's like, dude, you know the comics that love the Holocaust jokes the most? The Jewish comics. Yeah. Because as long as if it's a really good joke, we're going to say that's a really good joke, because you're saying it as a joke. It has nothing to do with your actual feelings behind anything. So when comics hang out, it's like,
I've seen Patrice talk about that a lot. Like,
right.
It's coming from the right place. It was never meant to be any. It's all a very different statement. Like, reading someone's comedy set and watching them perform said comedy set are two very different experiences.
Right.
Reading it is horrific. Watching them perform it, where you understand that none of that is coming from a serious place, very, very different. Like, I've seen Anthony Jeselnik talk about how people think that he's going to be this, like, garbage human being when they meet him, and he's just like, I'm just doing my job here of entertaining you. I don't speak like that. Like, I can for, dummies, but I'm not going to speak like this to general people. I'm not telling random people at the store, like, dead baby jokes. That's not a thing that's happening here. Like, I'm just a guy, man. We don't have to act like every single spoken word. People just throw intent in the garbage nowadays, and that's, like, the most important piece of anything that anybody's saying.
Right, especially those comics. Like, Jeselnik is just a great one-liner joke writer that writes evil, and that's his personality on stage, but off stage, he's just a normal. It's just that's not him. That's just his character.
That's not his personal creed.
Right.
Like, he's not. They're not opinions. They're jokes.
Right. Or just
obviously,
even when Bill
Chappelle's into it right now.
Right. Or Bill Burr rants about something. Sure. It sounds natural. All he's doing is finding something to rant about, and just like, in his head, it's where's the angle? It doesn't, it's not what do I believe, it's where's the angle, and I'll just be angry about something for no apparent reason, and people are like, well, Bill Burr said something bad about whatever. It's like, no, he's just coming up with comedy material. Like, that's all. Well, there has to be a little bit of truth involved. Why are we looking so much further into this? Or even on Twitter, dude, most of DFS Twitter is fucking lulz, right?
Yeah.
People take shit offense. I mean, like, someone said something. I get DMs. Someone said something bad about you. Said, it's fucking draft cheat. What do I care? I mean,
of course he did.
Or of course, I mean, I don't take anything of what he says seriously, So why do you take anything that or like, oh, you didn't mention this. Why didn't you just say, oh, you were like, it's like it's this macho contest. It's like, dude, it's Twitter. Like, and or oh, you blocked that guy. You got offended by it. It's like, no, I just don't like getting notifications where I don't like getting notifications. It's like, well, don't you think it's bad? It's my Twitter. I could block whoever the fuck I want. Like,
when you read it and then you read their previous 15 tweets, it's just like, oh, this person's never going to come to me with anything that I'll need to see ever again. Goodbye.
Right.
That's fine. You hit me with a good joke, I'm in. I might follow you at that particular. I don't mind people taking shots at me. You should. It's fun. As long as you don't like actually want to kill me, I'm in for it all.
Right. Whenever I start a tweet with imagine, it's a joke. Right? Imagine not playing, and we mentioned it to 1% own guy, but we know people that say that seriously.
Yes.
That's why that's why mine is a joke. Like, that's the reason I'm saying it, right?
Yeah. There's a reason that person was 1% owned.
Right. But I'll get replies back saying, oh, you're bragging that you played. It's like, no, I didn't even play the guy. The tweet is a joke. It's a joke, people. It's a goddamn joke.
You're not allowed to joke anymore. 2021 is different. They
you get canceled. Away. Right?
Yeah. Apparently.
Because what happened, three weeks ago, whatever? Apparently I was defending Henry Ruggs. Right? Because I tweeted out the fact that police reports should not be taken at face value because they could be written in any way. And I just found it odd that they wrote that he appeared to be well, that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
I pointed out.
Turns out yes.
Right, it turns out yes, but I was making fun of the fact that like the police that probably in the day and age of George Floyd, police reports should be a little bit more specific, especially when dealing with 22-year-old persons of color. That people jump to the right, just like that's all I was saying, and to be like, oh, you're fucking defending a drunk driving murderer or whatever. Like no, that's not what I was saying, and I wasn't even making a joke there. So like people weren't even that. All you have to do after that type of thing is like anytime you go to open up your Twitter app, you just go, just never tweet. Just don't even
never tweet.
Just never tweet it. It doesn't do anything.
It's not going to get you anywhere.
No, it gets your followers. It does.
It certainly does. It certainly does. I've had that discussion with Adam earlier today. He has since passed me in the Twitter follower account, and I can't run him down, and it bothers me. But I'm never going to be up at midnight arguing with people. So I need that second. I don't have the night crowd that he's been gathering over these past few months. So I need a different push.
But don't you find that DFS is the weirdest? That everything goes the other way. The more you argue with people, the more that they want to play you, and the more that followers. It's like, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's just like, dude, like, if you don't like what I'm saying, why are you following me? It's like, well, because I like arguing with you. Like, what? I don't follow people that I want to argue with. I don't follow them. Right?
That's like every medium of everything in the world.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, you don't like the Dave Chappelle stand-up special? Congratulations. You don't have to press play on that. There's a lot of content out there that I don't consume. Yeah,
but these people aren't just watching his special. They're going, I'm going to watch his entire back catalog to watch it. And I'm like, why are you
actually,
doing
what those people are really doing is also not watching the special.
Right.
But that's a bigger distinction.
But don't you get the sense of that sometimes with DFS content? I feel like some people watch the shows that I on just because they don't agree with what with anything of what I talk about.
I unquestionably have a large swath of people that show up to argue with just me specifically because I'm me. I can picture the names in my chat pretty easily.
But that's a draw. But you become a draw. But it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't understand. I wish they understood how little I cared.
What is it? But do you think they're doing it because they think that you care?
Because I think they do it because they think that it probably has to get to me.
Are you sure?
Most. Yeah.
Is that I mean, because I see people do that in politics, and I don't get that either. Like people, you'll have liberals that will purposely listen to Sean Hannity or something. Why are you wasting what's the purpose of that?
I think a lot of people just want to watch and like argue with whatever they see. I really do. I really think like we're talking about a small percentage here. Like I don't want to really rag on like our YouTube chat, because 99% of the people that are showing up in chat basically just want a 1v1 answer. They're all great people. I have no problem with it.
Right.
The 1% that like has a problem, I honestly think that they think they're gonna, especially if I acknowledge it, which most times I'm trying to acknowledge it because I feel like I've got a more creative barb than whatever they came up with to go over the top of it. But I think they actually think that this is like something that sticks in my craw. And the moment I get away from my desk, I'll never think about that person again until they just show up in YouTube chat again. Like, I don't care. When I get away from this computer, I'm just doing something else, whatever that happens to be at that particular moment. The last thing I'm thinking is, like, I cannot believe that YouTube guy, called me something in chat. It's just, I don't care, man. I cannot care about an individual that I'll never see.
Well, there's one thing the only thing that I don't like is the Twitter replies. Only because of
I don't do enough on Twitter.
Only because of notifications, and people said, well, why don't you just turn off the notifications? Like, well, then I can't answer I can't answer the 95% of people that I enjoy conversing with. So like,
right.
Like the only way for me to stop your fucking notifications is to fucking block you.
Yep.
Right. So like, if someone's gonna like, oh, you're a shithead, blah 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 blah, and then 3 minutes later, you're like. Couldn't you have just done that in one tweet? I mean, like, couldn't you have condensed? I mean, some of it's... but one thing you learn in comedy writing is you got an economy of words.
Economy of words.
Right. Come on, let's get that entire insult into one tweet, please. Like, so I only get one little ching on my phone. That's perfectly fine.
No Twitter alerts for me. Nothing there. So I don't have to worry about it too much. But I mean, on Twitter, I'm usually only tweeting my content, or like something about whatever I just like, if something happens in an NBA game.
Right.
I'm rarely putting anything else out there, probably to save myself, just to avoid me saying something that I probably shouldn't.
Right. I've said plenty of stuff that I probably shouldn't. I've deleted all of them.
Yeah, you kind of have to. I feel a lot better about it now than I would have probably a couple years ago. Whereas I'd be very surprised if I ever saw myself in like the cubicle life again, where I don't really feel like I need to scrub my past as much as I would have previously. Now it's just like, oh, if I can be my own boss, then I don't have to really answer to anybody. And it's not as if I'm coming out here saying like really, really bad nonsense, but I don't feel the pressure any longer now that I've been doing this for so long, a career that I never saw coming. Well,
maybe DraftKings will find something in your past so you don't get invited to the Super League.
See, I'm the guy that they should invite to the Super League. They want the good content. What else?
Right.
Where else?
But there should be divisions. There should be divisions, right?
Well, yeah. Let me play my way into it.
Right.
Should I be playing against Alex? No, absolutely not. But let me get promoted a couple times. Let me be Leicester City. I want to be the Jamie Vardy of this bad boy.
Right. You want to be in the mini-max division.
Yes.
Right? There's like a mini-max division and all that type of thing. You have 100 people there, 100 people there. And there you go. And then
I'm in for that.
Right.
I'm in for that for sure. That's the problem with DFS. I don't really love it. I hate the feeling. I don't enjoy sweats. Like, none of that is fun for me, generally speaking.
So why do you do it?
I love being a nerd in a spreadsheet.
Really?
More than anything else. I love the preparation of it all more than I like the actual DFS aspect. I really do.
I'm the opposite. I like the content aspect of it more than the playing.
Yeah. Well, same for me. Both pieces of it. My preparation being trying to create the best product that I can in Excel. Like if that's my NBA projections, trying to make that as good as I possibly can. I love. And obviously the test case for that is how am I performing? Because if it's not well, then probably whatever my inputs are probably aren't that good to begin with. But there's something fun about, like, I rebuild my NBA workbook every single year from scratch at the beginning of the season. It has evolved over 7+ years. I love doing that more than I like anything else about DFS. I love making videos now, way more than I like any part of entering a DFS contest. If I could, I would probably not really play and only do content, but I wouldn't like, no one should watch me then.
Right. It wouldn't make sense to watch. And also, you're not going to make enough money to do it that way anyway.
Correct.
I make enough money playing DFS. It's just that the swings are big. That just doing content would not. I mean, but
if I just did content, my life would be fine. Everything would be cool if I didn't have a cent from DFS. I really enjoy having additional money from DFS to spend on really random nonsense. I want to be able to just be like, okay, we're going to random place for the next 4 days. I rented a house. Let's just go do this. Oh, I bought a new MacBook because I don't care. Like, I just wanted to hit a GPP. Let's spend this money on a Peloton bike and something else. I love throwing anything that I do at DFS at totally random stuff. That's what DFS is for me. Fully disposable income that I don't care about at all.
No, I'm less like that. I mean, I don't mind spending the money. My wife definitely doesn't mind spending the money. But I'm very similar. It's like I've gotten back into wrestling the past year, and it's like, one thing I've never.
I assume.
What?
You're watching AEW, I assume?
Yeah, because WWE is horrible. But
so we're doing the exact same thing over this past year, then.
Right, because when COVID hit, I'm like, I have nothing to watch. Let me go back and watch the Attitude Era stuff, and the WWE Network has all this stuff and whatever. And then kind of got back into it, and like, what's going on with the current stuff? But one thing I've never done. Gone to WrestleMania. So I said, fuck it, I could go to WrestleMania. Let's go to
exactly.
Right. My wife says, and she's into it now also. So we went to Dynamite last week in Indianapolis, and she said it appealed because she's gone to she was big into the TV show Supernatural, and she's gone to Supernatural conventions. Like, she's into that type of culture, but she never viewed wrestling as that type of culture. I go, no, it is exactly that type of culture. So she goes to the judge. It's like, it's the three things that she likes the most. She likes the fan merchandise, like the pins and the shirts and the signs and everything. She likes the chants, right? Or the organic stuff.
Very soccer.
Right, very soccerish. And the attractive people, right, in the ring. Right? I mean, just like other than that, and the acrobatics. It's like, I like all this type of whatever. And then the story, and then you put the storyline, the attention to detail into the storylines.
So good.
Right.
So
but I'm just saying, but if it wasn't for DFS, it wasn't like, I don't have I could tell Roto Grinders, I can't do a show for 4 days. And okay. One thing I've never gone to WrestleMania. We want to go to WrestleMania? Okay. I bought the package. We're going to 4 days and all access to, okay, whatever. That's our vacation. We'd normally go on something else, and there you go.
That's what I want. That's what DFS is to me. Like, just being able to say, all right, we're just going to go to WrestleMania because I have X amount of money.
Right, I got $5,000 that it could just go boof. Right.
Yeah, done. I don't have to pay attention to it again. That's fine by me. If I didn't win another cent, and I don't mean like, I'm not actively losing while it happens too, because clearly you've got to fund it somehow. If I just couldn't play DFS for some strange reason, but I can keep doing content, I would probably be happier just in general. I would expect my baseline happiness to be somewhere slightly higher.
I would still want to play. I still want to play DFS. I like the intellectual. I too much like, I'm a games player to begin with. I like the feeling of using your own intellect to win at something that involves a reward, not just for pride.
Absolutely. And I'm totally with you there. And I guess I probably underrate how well a win feels.
Because it doesn't happen that often. Because it doesn't happen that often.
To offset all of those incremental, I don't feel great because I didn't have a winning days. Because look, when you wake up and you don't have a winning day, it's not like it's changing your day or dragging you into the mud or anything like that. But you definitely don't feel as good as you would have felt if that number were slightly different. It's just human nature to see, I lost, shoulders just shrug just a little bit. I probably don't think about the wins offsetting that enough. And I think that might be my issue. Maybe that's just like the natural pessimist in me, that I can't feel as happy about the good moments as I can feel as sad about the bad ones. But there's just something about like nerding out in a spreadsheet to change a rebound rate by 0.5%, that is just more appealing to me than doing or like to enter a GPP.
Yeah, but if what you're doing in the spreadsheet doesn't lead to a reward for being correct or whatever, then it seems like what's the purpose of, like, I set up an MMA spreadsheet every week for me to do lineups, but it's like I wouldn't, if I wasn't playing MMA, like I wouldn't be doing that. I mean, what would be the purpose of doing
just speaking NBA specifically, because that is the one that I want to put the most work into. But I would be happy if I just grabbed all of the readily available projections in the industry, tracked them, and saw how well I did in comparison to them. If I was better than that, or like in that, not the worst even, would probably be just enough for me to be like, okay, like what I'm doing is functionally correct.
Yeah, but what reward are you getting? Like to me, it's maybe it's a philosophical question, because I don't get, like, for instance, like Josh Hermsmeyer.
Yeah.
I'm not saying anything bad about Josh. It's just that I don't get, if you're good at what you do, why wouldn't you want to get financially rewarded for it? So like that's like what, there needs to be some purpose. Like,
so I want to be financially rewarded for it, for sure. I do tend to think that, I mean, maybe I equate that a little bit with getting paid to do content. That is sort of I get financially rewarded to do the thing I like the most, which is just like updating Excel spreadsheets. In theory, in my mind, that's what I'm getting paid to do. Talking is like a bonus to me. The fact that I get to do a bunch of videos every day and just talk about the things that I prepared is ludicrous to me. I don't understand how I get paid to do that. I don't understand how anybody wants to watch that. The fact that that has become my career is not something that I ever saw happening 5 years ago. Something like that didn't exist at all to me. Never even thought it was going to happen. So it's not like I like the feeling of getting the win, but like I've never needed it. I don't really like, even though I know, generally speaking, whatever I'm entering, save for like maybe just straight jamming into soccer contests, I know that I'm profitable. I know that I'm expecting to win X amount of money on any individual entry that I put in. I don't really like the feeling of having to wait to see how it comes out. I don't do well with that anxiety. It's not an enjoyable experience to me. And given the fact that it probably wouldn't hurt if I played contests to make me feel better more frequently. Instead, I am the full-on jam into the largest field contest that I can find and deal with gigantic swings, because that's the type of contest that it is. That's probably also not smart for me. I should
right, but I think that's maybe the difference, though, is that that's why I'm a self-professed nit like that, of like, I don't go through as much dramatic swings as anyone else, because if I don't like a contest, I don't play it. Or if there's the excellent eights or whatever, I may be only playing 50 lineups into it. I may only be playing 30 lineups. Maybe I decide that day to just play the single entry contest. I mean, like I'm playing a very small percentage of my bankroll per slate. So maybe those downs that you feel, like on a daily basis, like I don't feel those downs as much, because it's like, I lost 0.5% of my bank. I mean, it doesn't make that much of a dramatic effect to me. That in NFL it does, only because I'm playing more of my bankroll in NFL, and it's only pretty much once a week outside of some showdowns. So that I've had to adjust to. But on an NBA basis, on MLB, when you're playing every day, it's like, well, maybe you shouldn't be playing that high volume. That like even though it may be from a financial sense, like from a Kelly criterion type of sense, it's fine to play X amount of volume based on your perceived edge. Yep. But if you're not enjoying what you're doing, essentially that's what I do. It's like, I'm going to play at a lower volume that I feel much better when my risk of ruin is close to zero. Mm-hmm. More so than care about how much I could win if I jam. Yep. Right? So
that should be what I do.
Right. That should be what you do.
Yeah, it is.
But it is
not what I do.
Well, but why not? Why do you feel the need to have to jam in 150 entries into contests a day?
think it's fun.
But I thought you said it's not fun.
It's fun for me.
It's fun until lock. It's fun to put the 150 together, but
yes,
it's not fun after lock of like seeing the results of
I love running crunches and seeing what my exposures look like and comparing that to public of ownership and seeing, okay, this guy, I'm getting 30% of this 1% guy. I need to slightly increase his ownership, just like once I get to my Excel sheet, slightly increase his ownership or slightly decrease his projection to make him, not be a 30-1 play in that particular spot. Maybe, depending on like the rest of it. That individual example doesn't matter at all. I love the prep. At 7 o'clock, I could, like, this is why I loved FanDuel so much. I hate late swap. I wanted to set my lineups at 7 o'clock, throw my phone away, and then just be done with the day and wake up the next morning and do it all again. And I don't care to know how any of it played out from 7:01 until the next morning. I want to go back and look and figure out what happened, why it happened, what did other people do. I don't care about any of it while it's happening, which I feel like I am missing out on the best part of it all.
But why don't, if you don't want the risk though, why don't you make your 150 lineups, don't enter them, then download the CSV of the large field contest and score all of your lineups and see so you have no risk, but you're still getting the satisfaction. Like, to me, that's no fun because, like, what's the point of doing the work if you're not going to get the reward? But maybe for you, it's like, you're literally going to play DFS for no money. And you'll have a fictional bankroll and a fictional roto tracker. And at the end of the year, if it's like, I'm fictionally up $86,000, pay attention to me.
I will have a fictional level of respect in this industry too. At that point,
I'm putting that the title of the episode.
That's fair. That's fair. I don't mind. But it is true though. Like I wouldn't miss it if I couldn't play. Like if they took it away somehow in North Carolina, if I had to, VPN it or something to maintain people knowing that I'm in a contest, that's fine. I wouldn't miss it I wouldn't miss it at all. I would love to just continue to talk about the NBA and NBA DFS if I could. If people would consider it credible, I would love to continue to do it. I don't think I would consider it credible.
But what happens if DFS went away in its entirety?
Well, I would need a new job.
Sports betting touting seems pretty easy. That to me,
it's the same thing.
No, Josh, I think sports betting content is 10 times worse than DFS content.
The large majority of it, I agree. I would do the same sports betting content that I would do for DFS.
Right.
It would just be like, okay, well, this is how I have it projected. This is what my model says. I've got my bet wins 55% of the time. The odds are saying 53.5. So based on this edge at a quarter Kelly, this is what I'm going to bet. That I would have to do it the exact same way. Also, probably not super interesting content to most people. And more often than not, what you're really looking for in sports betting is a stale line somewhere.
Right. But the problem is that when you find the stale line, it's that paradox that if you understand sports betting that you don't get, people don't get, is like, if you find the stale line, you would want to benefit from it first, and by the time I tell it to you, it's gone. So like, what are you gaining from what I'm telling you? Because I should be taking advantage of it. And then if I take if I say this is a stale line, I'm betting fictional. I hate the units.
Yeah.
I'm betting X amount on it. If the line doesn't move, that means I'm the schmuck, right? So the content I'm giving you is bad to begin with. So like, to me, there's no sports betting content that could be possible that is credible.
I think you might be able to do something in that vein with a small community. You're paying some sort of fee into like a Patreon of some sort. You have a limited access where you can't just, anybody that wants to pay to get in gets there, so that at least some people can attack the same thing that you do when you do it. You can't, I don't know how, it's certainly very difficult to provide anything at any sort of large scale, because by the time you're putting that information out, it's either gone or
wrong.
And again, it depends on, are we talking player props or are we talking NFL sides? Because if we're talking like NFL sides, I don't want to read that shit ever.
Right.
That's a nonsense.
No,
product.
but I think the content that would be useful is more educational based.
Yep.
Like
just like DFS though.
No, but not necessarily. I mean, I would think it's more, it's more evergreen type of stuff. I think like
okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah. Like it's more of the fact of videos and whatever, like what's closing line value. I mean, like what like just like what does hold percentage mean? I mean, like to me, it's funny. These to me, I consider these basic things.
Yeah.
So it shocks me when 95% of people that sports bet have never heard of these terms. And I don't bet on sport. And the thing is that I don't even bet on sports. It's like someone that, it's like if you play poker and it's like, well, I don't play I don't play 2 to 7 low ball, but I know how to play 2. It's just that it's not a game that I focus on. I probably don't know the really nuances, but if you put me in a low ball, you know, and triple draw, whatever, like against 9 schmucks, like I could probably beat them, even though I barely ever play like that. To me, that's what I consider the sports betting stuff of like, if you're good at DFS, you understand these mathematical concepts of like how this is all, how this all works.
That's really the intro to DFS, right? A math class,
right?
I mean,
I tell people, Josh, I tell people that, and people think that I'm patronizing them. I tell Josh, I literally give them a link. I give them links to Khan Academy. I said, you know what would help you the most being a successful DFS player? Take these probability and statistics classes, right? Yeah. With there are 80 marbles in a jar, and how you and what are frequencies? What are distributions? And you know obviously the people that tell that never actually fucking do it, of course. But it's like, this is how you get better. So
that's
to me,
like
answer, right? How do you get better at sports betting? Take a math class.
Yes. Yeah. You need to learn, unless you are some Warren Buffett type character who's going to transcend everything, understanding the math behind all of this and assuming that you don't need to know anything about the sport you're talking about. You'll be significantly better if you stop thinking that you have any knowledge about that sport. Me thinking that I know anything about basketball is probably going to make me worse at DFS. Oh, this guy, he always owns so-and-so. It's like, always, they played 3 times.
Right.
That's a thing. It's like,
wide receiver cornerback matchups.
Narrative box in my Excel sheet today to increase his projection by 5%. I don't have that today.
How about Marcin Gortat on Polish Heritage Night?
That one worked. That one worked. But yeah, it's that sort of stuff. Like revenge narratives. It's like there's 25 of them a day in everything. And some of these guys, how many revenge narratives can Ish Smith have at this point? 14 NBA teams.
Well, Lou Williams, revenge.
Right. It's like, have against who? But it's a thing. If that's like the one takeaway from this, please, everybody that's listening, take a probability and statistics course. I promise you, it will make you better at DFS. It cannot make you worse.
Right. And make you better at sports bet. And actually, once you take a probability and statistics course, you'll see how hard it actually is to beat sports betting. And you'll also see that if you think that you can beat sports betting, that's not the hard part. Like,
wait until you get limited.
Right. Well, that's the point that I'm to make. Like, really, the hardest part in sports betting is getting the money down. It's not finding the lines is not that difficult. It's getting the money down, and also having it being a meaningful amount of raw money. So, like,
yeah, you can smash that line, but if the limit on that bet is $50, you're not really doing yourself any favors.
Right, because the EV of the bet maybe, I mean, like, you bet 50, and maybe you have maybe you have a 7% edge on a prop or something like that. So it's like, how much is that? How much you with $3.50? I mean, like that's your expected return.
Yeah,
on that
that one bet.
One bet.
Do you have 1,000 more of those?
Right, and do you have them every day?
Exactly.
So like, at what point is enough raw money going to be worth. And then once you understand that, you know why the top sports bettors are trying to beat sides and totals, because those markets are very liquid that you could get money down. And even then you have problems. You have to get accounts. I mean, to me, sports betting is not even about beating the lines. It's about beating the sports books themselves.
Yeah.
And partnering with people. I know this from back in the poker days. Right.
Mistakes are what you're looking for at this particular moment.
Right. But there's so much promo money out there that that right now they're just trying to acquire so many customers that if you're in a legal state, whatever, like, dude, I think if you line shop and take advantage of promos, you're a profitable. You can be a profitable sports bettor. And now, how much raw money is that? That's a different story.
Yeah.
But as far as beating, 52.3% of normal VIG lines, they give you enough bonuses. They give you enough. There's enough boosts and stuff, and then you see one line is at -115. This line is at -107 at this other place. You get kind of that synthetic hold of 0 between two books. You bet, and then there you go. But to me, what we're talking about is sports betting content. It's not the Dolphins are not gonna do well because Tua's fingers hurt type of content.
That's the good stuff, though, right? That's what people want. How do we make people want the right stuff? Isn't that I guess that's the name of the game, right?
No, to me, it's about doing by example.
Sure.
So that I've always believed from content perspective is that just because how do you break into the industry types of things. I get emails and DMs. It's like I want to write content. I want to do video, whatever like that. Said you're not going to like the answer that I'm going to give you. Said what you have to do is at this very moment create the content that you want to see.
Yep.
And you have to create the content, and you don't have to
over and over and over and
over
right,
over and over again. And what microphone to get? Whatever microphone you have. What camera to get? Whatever camera you have. What banner on your YouTube channel? Who cares about a banner on your YouTube channel? All you have to do is press play and talk. And most likely 5 years from now, you're going to look back at that content and go, I can't believe anyone watched it. But at the very moment, if you could get 5 people to watch it, you've succeeded. So now the next day, you just want to get better and better, and maybe 6 people watch it, and then 7 people watch it. And then you can
downstairs every single day when I was running my stream before I went to Osimo, and I'd be like, honey, 25 people were in here today. I cannot believe that's all. I can picture clear as day being like, I got to 100 today. Just being like, what a number, like 100 people. We finally hit triple digits on a stream concurrent. I've never been like, that's the most proud moment of anything that I've ever did. Hitting 100 concurrent people on a stream. And now I see like 3,500 and it's just like, well, it'd be cool if we got to 4.
Right.
It doesn't even like bat an eye. But at that moment, I was working a regular job. I was waking up super early, putting out an NBA video, coming home from work, doing a live video. And when I got to 100, I was like, oh, this is fun. At that moment, I was making no money doing it, but I was just churning it out as fast as I possibly could every single day to make sure that I was continually getting out content. And when Osimo started, I was uniquely available to be like, hey, here's my portfolio of everything that I've done, and I have a regular job for it. It took like 48 hours before myself and Tom and Alex were just like, oh, cool, done. Like, if you're able to work a regular job during all of this and still put out content and build this up, then this is exactly what we're looking for. You got to just be ready to put yourself in that position when it possibly comes up.
Right. I was just going to say that the things, I mean, I've learned it from stand up and anything that I've done, is like, put yourself in the position to get opportunities.
Yep. So
hanging at, like, one of the things that, like, in stand up comedy, if you don't have a spot, I mean, I was in New York City, so there's a lot of clubs or whatever. Yeah. Said you're going to hang out, and they go, well, what happens if you don't have a spot? You're just going to hang out at the comic strip for 3.5 hours or whatever? Yes, because you're putting yourself in the position to get opportunity. Like, dude, you know how many times that, you know, someone doesn't show up shows up late for their spot, and then
I'm here, I'll take it.
Right. And then the manager's there going, what comics are around? And here you go, 15 minutes of stage time, just out of the blue. And then you're hanging out with other comics, and you know, it's like someone's working a room in Long Island, and it's like, and then they ask you, it's like, if you want to drive down, and I was the one with the car, right? So so especially in New York City, because a lot of comics didn't have cars because you don't need a car in New York City. That it's like, if they'll ask if you'll drive, you could open for me or something like that. Okay, but you wouldn't have ever gotten asked those questions if you weren't fucking there. So like hanging out on Twitter,
be available.
Right, hanging out on Twitter, on streams, and being in people's discords and providing value without the you know, trying to get a return for it. Like, that's putting yourself in the position to get opportunities. And then when you do the content, obviously in the beginning you're not going to be like this, but be so good that you cannot be ignored.
Yep.
So it's not, don't think in terms of, I've done a couple of shows, and then, because I see so many people that are like, they'll at reply on Twitter, check me out. It's like, no, actually the best way to do it is to never mention anyone whatsoever and have them find you organically, right? Because you were just too good to be, someone told them, you have to check this out.
Yeah. They were looking for content. You immediately came to the top of that content.
Right.
Be that person.
Right.
Which, you know, easier said than done, too.
True.
But you have to be able to, you have to be willing, and this is another great comp for stand-up. Like, you've got to be willing to eat shit for a bit. You aren't just going to create a YouTube channel and have people look at it. Your first couple streams, your first year probably, are probably going to be terrible. Now, it's different now than it was 5 years ago. You can get more equipment. Everything's, we see so much more content, so you can kind of pattern yourself a little bit more. There wasn't as much for me to watch when I started to do this as there is now for people to watch to see what sort of like works and doesn't work. A lot of it was just trial and error. Like, I didn't know anything about any of it. I didn't know how to use OBS or any of the streaming software. I was just like, are we streaming? I hope we're streaming. It's just the Zoom on Zoom on Zoom of just like my background and me. I had no idea what I was doing. There was no intros or anything like that. The content was garbage, but it got put out there every single day. And it went from one, like you said, 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. And some of it was pretty bad. But I'll go back and watch that first one every once in a while just to remember, like, well, there was a time where this really sucked.
Well, I used to do in my first year, I did a soccer podcast. I did my own daily soccer DFS. Like,
Okay.
Look how niche of a niche. But it was a 20-minute show of me ranting about everything that went wrong on the slate before, right? But I mean, but that's my personality. Like Bill Burr, Lewis Black, just like cursing the word, this fucking guy, I want this guy, and just coming up with because I'm doing improv, I'm doing comedy improv, you know, like the New York City angry comic type of thing. And inside of the soccer DFS, the 100 people that play, like, they listen. I mean, this was entertaining because like there was no other content like it. And you know, and the podcast that I listened to was the RotoWire Soccer podcast with Andrew Laird and Mike Gottlieb, and that's how I learned about soccer DFS. So being in the position to get opportunities, like I did well, and I was doing well at soccer DFS, and I was constantly interacting with people on Twitter. So when Andrew at RotoWire,
that interaction is massive too. Just
good interaction, not just calling people shitheads, right?
Right. We've hired quite a few people that were just in our chats and in Slack and members for a bit, and they were great. They were helpful. They would do things that no one was asking them to do. They were very clearly smart when they were doing those sort of things. And it's just like, hey, we need somebody else to cover some shows and stuff. Are you interested? And now they're working for our site. It's great.
Right.
Those are the people that we're looking for. You don't have to be the guy that sends in the message like, what do I got to do to get on one of those shows? I think I'd be great on the strategy show with you. I've won 2 5,000 person GPPs. It's like, man, I don't care about that at all.
Right.
The most meaningless piece of this is however you think you are at DFS.
Right, but I mean, I did the same thing, like in the RotoWire Discord that used to be Slack.
Yeah.
I was just a member of the community. So like when people would ask questions, I would be there. Same for the like I'm on Roto Grinders now, and people may know me from Roto Grinders. It's like, dude, I was a Roto Grinders member, and I was in the chat. I had the orange name, right? In the chat, I was
sure,
right, and typically I was in there talking about the same things I talk about on this show, like the game theory aspects. And this is 3 or 4 years ago, and people were talking about NBA or NFL or whatever in the Discord. And I'm like, where else can I talk about this? So I'm just gonna, and then people started to come to me, even though I'm not an analyst at Rotogrind. I'm just another subscriber like you are. Mm-hmm. And they're like, and I'm teaching people like, this is what a projection means. This is what this means, whatever. And then eventually doing all of that in my own YouTube thing and podcast. And then Cal says, you're very helpful in Discord, and we need to, you want to be, I got offers from another site that I didn't want to take. I used that as leverage. That's exactly what I did. I was smart business-wise. I got an offer from another bigger site that I didn't find, I actually don't care for. And then I basically said to Cal, I said, I got an offer from this site, but I don't want to, I want to be a Roto Grinders. And he said, you should have told me this a while ago. I would have, okay. And but
RIP fan vice.
Right. It wasn't fan vice.
Sure.
But all that is like just creating the content that you want to see. So you say with the sports betting stuff, like there are people creating that type. I mean, I listen to, podcasts and videos, but there's just only so much of like there's, to me, in sports betting, good sports betting content isn't a daily, because there's no way. It's like,
no.
To me, sports betting content is like you can make about 40 hours worth of content, and and then it's just a matter of waking up the next day and seeing where you could find all these opportunities, and this is how you find them. And you can't do a stream about finding them because then they'll be gone. I mean, like
if you find it, you're betting it immediately and hoping you beat the people that are watching your stream, I guess. But no, you're totally right there. It is a significantly different experience where the sports betting, I'm anxious to see what sports betting content looks like over the next 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, where that actually ends up going once it's everywhere. I mean, we're still like, I don't have it. I can't bet on sports anywhere.
I think it's going to be even worse than what it is now.
I wouldn't be surprised by that.
I think it's going to be like it's going to be it's going to be, we're going to look at Vegas Dave and go, remember when there was some integrity in
Oh, it's going to be insane. It's going to be truly insane. Just think about how much bigger of a market sports betting is than DFS. Like the amount of people that are going to come out of the woodwork as sports betting touts, especially now that it's significantly easier to put out content. God, people are going to get.
But to me, another problem with the sports betting content is that, like, DFS is different. So obviously, in the earlier days of DFS, most of the sites made money from affiliate marketing.
Yes.
Right. So essentially, you're sending people. Roto Grinders had all the good free content because they got these amazing
everybody
affiliate
that signed
deals.
up at DraftKings and FanDuel and Fan Throwdown and Draft Day and all the other ones.
But the thing is that the site, DraftKings themselves, doesn't care who wins and loses. They're taking 15% of the pot no matter what. So they don't, for Roto Grinders or whoever the content affiliates, if it's good information, it doesn't negatively affect DraftKings.
Right.
They just want more people to play because it doesn't matter who wins and loses to them. In sports betting, that isn't that way. So I'm not a big, to me, I think it's a very poor incentive to to do affiliate like, to me, I find affiliate marketing to be, I've done affiliate marketing before. Sure. Because my normal occupation is digital marketing. So like, for other companies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I understand how the game is played. But to me, you can't be on the same side as someone as the player. If I have a site that's like, here, I'm going to teach you how to sports bet, And my main way of making income is to send you to a sports book to lose money. Like, the incentive structure is not geared towards that. And then sports books are not going to want to affiliate with a site that's going to teach them truly how to sports bet.
Yeah.
Because then essentially what that site is going to do is send the sportsbook customers that they're eventually going to limit. Yeah. So they're not going to make much money off of them anyway.
Immediately too.
It's right, almost immediately. It almost becomes a signal. Almost the sportsbook may actually want to be an affiliate with that type of site because they know it's like anyone that comes through this link, we limit immediately because we know that they're too good. So so to me,
they're already flagging you right out of the gate.
Right.
Like,
so
you came from him. Cool. We've limited 87% of everybody that's ever come here on that link.
But here's the problem. In DFS, to make money off of content, we could still be aligned with the people that were supposedly giving us money, right? Yeah. And we're still aligned with any partners. If you partner with like No House Advantage or Monkey Knife Fight or Yahoo or whoever, like as long as people are playing, they don't care who wins or loses. Yep. So you could provide, so everyone is aligned in the same way. But in sports betting, no one is aligned in the same way. So how does the content creator make money other than direct? Like to me, if you're affiliating, that means you're a tout, and your content is practically worthless. If you're not affiliating, that means the only way for you to make money is directly from consumers. Yeah. But we're talking about an addressable market that's probably very small. Yep. So where does the content creator it seems like in DFS, like you could make money from multiple revenue streams and still be credible. But in sports betting, it seems like it's impossible for that to happen.
Yeah, the credibility piece is going to go away in that aspect. I don't think that you can and be credible in the sports betting space. I don't know how you could. With DFS, though, I mean, I can do a sponsored show for Prize Picks, and then I could do a sponsored show for No House Advantage, and then do one for Monkey Knife Fight, and do one for whoever's going to show up and fall away in the future. Doesn't change anything for any of that stuff. I'm still giving that exact same information. If I'm doing that from a sports betting perspective, it's not going to be as good. It's going to look a little grimier for sure. It has to.
Because it's weird to me, because I mean, even on like the Roto Grinders like pre-lock show for the showdown that I do, it's sponsored by BetMGM. Mm-hmm. Now there are things that I do. Number one, I never give picks for bets or anything. So I mean, I don't do that normally because it's fucking pointless.
Sure.
The business side of me understands. Obviously, I'm not getting money directly from BetMGM, but Roto Grinders is that. If I'm going to mention a line, I'm going to mention a BetMGM line. So for DFS purposes, if we're like, let's take a look at if Ben Skrowinex, everyone's going to play we're always looking for the cheap guys that could score a touchdown. Mm-hmm. Well, he's minus 600 on BetMGM to score. So that's beneficial for DFS purposes. But I'm not saying that you should bet on that at BetMGM. But I'm also not mentioning that at FanDuel he's minus 450. Right. Or at wherever at William Hill he's plus 800. Like I'm not mentioning, like if you want a line shop, go line shop, but I'm not going to promote line shopping on a DFS show when it's being sponsored by a sports book. I'm going to mention their lines. So like to me that's that fine line of like I'm not. But if someone asks me in the chat, should I bet that guy at plus 650 on BetMGM when I could look and see that FanDuel has a higher? I would say no. I would bet it at another line. So as long as no one asks me the question like that, I feel like that's fine as a sponsorship. But you can't be in a situation where you're doing a sports betting show and being sponsored by one sports book and then doing legitimate, credible content if that sportsbook doesn't have the best line on anything that you're talking about.
Right. Like, I mean, you can sort of sneak through if you actually do believe that there's value on that number. But ultimately, the outstanding message has to be, you should be betting this at the place that benefits you the most, no matter where that is, so long as you don't think that that particular bet is the one that's going to get you limited at that sports book.
Right. I mean, that's a secondary bit, but from a
Sure.
educational perspective, like if you're not going to promote line shopping, like then what?
That's number one.
That's
Right
number
away,
one. I mean, there's nothing that. But you know how many people don't? I mean, it's insane to me.
Most, if I had to guess.
Right. Who do you or you get the people even worse, because obviously some people that I know locally, whatever, they confuse DFS and gamble and sports betting. So it's like, who do you like?
I told everybody I was a bookie when I first started this. I was like, Mom, you don't even know what that means, do you?
But the last bit, like, what team do you got? Like, I don't got any teams. It's fantasy. I got whatever. Yeah. It's like, they go. Do you think minus 6.5 on this is what? No, what they'll ask. No,
I think it should be that.
Right? Maybe it should be that. But no, but the thing is that I'll get people that ask me, like. They do like soccer props or something like that. Like a certain like they're betting on soccer, typically anytime goal scoring. And they go, do you think this is a good price for this goal scorer? And I'll say, yeah. But like an hour before lock, like you see the team change, and it's like no, I wouldn't bet on that. It's like, but I thought you said you thought Mo Salah is going to score. It's like, yeah, when he was minus 120. But like the line's up to minus 180, and now fucking Virgil van Dijk isn't in, and their defense is going to suffer. So their totals coming. I mean, like,
it's not the same as it was before.
It's not the same as it was, right? It's not. It's not.
You still get that in DFS, and people don't even understand the concept or like the context of things changing. Like I'll do my contenders videos and post those to YouTube by 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, something in that neighborhood.
In the morning?
Yeah. And
what's the purpose? Can you tell me what the purpose in NBA? Dude, I do a show at 11 o'clock in the morning, and I tell people consistently in chat, I do not want to talk about today's slate, because anything I say, literally by 6 o'clock, may mean literally you'd watch it and think that you were watching another universe, right? Yeah. So you do that video. Like, what's the point of that video?
You know what the point of that video is.
Well, obviously it's sponsored and you're making money, but I'm making the point for you that people watch that video later in the day and don't realize that if something's changed, it's all
freak out about it. It's like, I told you to check my Twitter. I'll post updates, and those updates become useless almost immediately. Right. The only way that you're going to know exactly what's happening for me is if I happen to be on live before lock on that particular day from 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, where you know I am telling you my changes and what that impact is. Otherwise, it's stale basically the moment that it goes out. But yeah, it's out there for viewership. It's a commercial. It's a commercial for Osmo.com. That's what a video is on YouTube.
Have you ever had the thing where you do a contenders video and something big news changes that makes it so that one guy that you mentioned is like nowhere near a play, yet they still get there, and then people thank you for it
all the time.
Even though on the pre-lock show, you're like, this guy is like an avoid at all costs now, because this guy, Brendan Ingram, is back, and now you're not going to play Josh Hart or whatever. And then Josh Hart has his monthly 18 rebound game for no apparent reason.
And at that point in time, I'm just like, I told you he was a great play.
I know.
That's all you can do. Like, it's, I have to treat it like it's a joke at that point.
No, but it's not a joke.
So I do think the content serves the purpose of like giving someone a snapshot of what the top end of the slate looks like at that particular moment. Just don't hang on every word from a 9 o'clock in the morning video. I mean, people will comment like so-and-so, like it's like somebody will get ruled out at 4 o'clock and somebody will write in the comment section, like, how is he number 2? Guy got ruled out. It's like, did you even look and see when this got posted? Like, if I knew that he was going to be out 8 hours from now, I would have happily taken him out of this discussion and done it differently. Unfortunately, I didn't have that information then. I'm going to update it in some form, whether that's our Discord or Twitter or I'm live on a show. You can get that extra updated information from me, but I can't just continually, I don't have the time to churn it out again. I'd like to, maybe I should put that video out again in the afternoon. Maybe that's a new way for me to get a little bit more content.
Yeah. Contenders morning series, Contenders afternoon.
It's not a bad idea.
Right.
Whatever gets me away from football content, I'm in.
But you see, but with all these reactions to those types of things, I mean, this is what I point out to people that like, because the constant meme, it's constant. This was a meme in 2015, in 2017, 2009. DFS is dead. It's been solved. There's no more. There's no edge in DFS. And like from doing content, I see like on a daily basis that there's still and it's a self-selecting thing. Like I have to point out to people that I tell them, I said 95% of people that I do shows in front of still don't get it. And these are the people that are actively seeking help.
Yeah.
And
they think they're trying to get it.
Right. And they're right. So imagine, and remember, we're a very small section of all the people that play DFS in general.
Yeah.
So imagine all the people, someone at DraftKings, basically told me that if there was a poll and they polled all of their users and they said, have you ever heard of roto-grinders? Which, no offense to Awesemo, it's been around for 10 years.
Yeah.
Right. Everything that's the biggest DFS, most known, whatever, even though your YouTube channel is doing way better than roto-grinders. If you ask the user base, like, what have you ever heard of roto-grinders? They tell you that their responses would be 90% of people would have literally never heard of the #1 content site that's been around for 10 plus years.
I said 10% in my head, so I'm really excited that you went with obviously
they've never done that poll, but it's like that's how much of a bubble that we're in.
Yeah.
But of course, this bubble makes up like 80% of the everyday players that play DFS. Yeah. It's just that 20% that's left, it's not people playing every day. It's like this guy plays once in a while or whatever. But there's always a constant flux of those players around, and they make up
churn is there.
Most of the user base in general. So if they're not even seeking help, I mean, dude, I get head-to-head sometimes. People take $109 head-to-head, and I take a look, and they have two guys that are out for the day in an NBA lineup, and I go, I mean, it doesn't happen every day or something, but I'm just like someone literally said, I'm going to go in and play $100 head-to-head against Blender HD, who knows? And this guy has the person doesn't even have a badge, and decide to play like Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo on a day where they just literally got ruled out.
And then you write their screen name down and think.
But you never see them again. I mean, like those are the types of things you never see again.
Unicorns.
But don't you find that odd to close things out? I mean, I think the overall theme is that like we both love doing content. We both love doing nerdy shit. We both love teaching.
Yeah,
I get satisfaction of someone that finally has that aha moment, gets it, sends me an email saying, I've been playing DFS for 5 years, losing money, and now I finally get it, and I've won this GPP, and this is my I love that.
It's the best part of it.
It's the best part of it. But that's still only 5% of the even then, 95% of people will just not ever get it. And it kind of gives me the best. To me, it's the best of both worlds. Of I could still play and have an edge. I could still teach people and give them an edge.
Yep.
I can make money in multiple revenue streams doing it like this. To me, this. I mean, this is my ongoing quest. 19 years of never having a real job, right? Never having a quote real job. That's always been my goal. I don't need $10 million.
I don't ever want to have one again.
Right.
That much I can tell you.
Right. But to me, that's the reason why it could happen, and why DFS there's nowhere close to being dead. It's harder at the higher. It's hard. Obviously, it's getting harder and harder.
Sure. Yeah. There's a difference between getting harder and it's done, and clearly it's.
But some people say it's done
exponentially harder than it was 6 years ago.
Do you think, Josh? Do you think the people that say that it's done? Do you think the people that have retired, if you want to put that term, do you think that it's just due to the fact that, I mean, there are some people that were really good at back in 2013 that we don't see anymore, right?
There were.
Or there are people back in 2013 who we still see that we haven't really seen make any money. since 2003. Like, do you feel like because I don't hear Alex saying that it's dead, and he's like the highest volume player that it is that you could have. So like to me,
when Alex was still the number one player after it's got to be what, like 3+ years now, easy 4, so more, I don't know, we'll call it 4. If DFS were dead and he was still keeping himself at the top of these rankings, how much money is he putting in to no avail? That would be insanity at this point. He would just do something else.
Right.
Like it's no matter what we want to say about the Roto Grinders rankings and like the nature of the top of that beast. If he were getting his clock cleaned, I think we'd know.
Right. Well, we have the data. We would know.
Right.
We did. No, I don't know. Let's put it even better. We do know. Right.
We do.
It's not we would know. We actually do know.
Yeah. Like he's clearly still doing something that brings him back to continue to make money. Right. And I think that, there are a lot. It's not just him. We're talking about Alex because I work at Osimo, but like there are multiple other examples of guys that are at the top of the Roto Grinders leaderboard where we can have the same discussion where it's just like, if it were dead, they would just stop and go on to the next thing. There's a reason that a lot of them, most people were coming out of poker into DFS. It was a natural transition for a bit. There's going to be a next thing that the edge is there and they'll beat it to it. That's just going to happen. I don't know what that's going to be.
It already is something.
Probably NFTs at this
point. Right.
Moment.
It's NFTs, right.
Yeah. That's the new thing. And 5 years from now, we'll be doing NFT content. And no. That's just me.
How many NFTs do you own?
More than I should.
Okay, so you're on the other side of the strike. I'm a no coiner, no giffer, no. I'm a no nothing.
I bought a picture of acorns for entirely too much money.
You know how stupid that sounds.
Not as stupid as when you tell your wife you did it. Because that one took a minute.
You know what I did today? I moved another $500 from my taxable account to my IRA, and you know what I did? I bought the S&P 500.
Okay. So I'm doing something similar, but it's just auto buys of multiple cryptocurrencies.
See, yeah, right. See the thing with what I'm buying is that they're like I could actually visit like the headquarters of like Apple and General Electric and like actual, and you know what? They could show me their balance sheet and it's like, wow, they're making money that gets returned to me in dividends. It's kind of a weird system that's set up. Like as the economy works, I get more money for what it is. It's not a token.
I do the same thing. I'm staking my Ethereum. I get money back for it. It's great.
for now. And you need
for now is true.
For now
is true. I like it. I am a believer, though. Like jokes aside, I am a believer in the cryptocurrency future, the NFT future. Did I dive in more aggressively than I probably should have over the past 6 months because it felt like a mild gold rush of lottery tickets? Absolutely. Did I spend money I don't have? No, not at all. Like it's not changing. Everything could go tits up. Every single thing that I bought can go away. Every single piece of cryptocurrency could go away. It would affect my day-to-day life precisely zero, other than maybe a stern "I told you so." But it wouldn't change anything. I'm not putting in any money that I don't already have to use for disposable income.
Right. So, you're using that money on jamming soccer DFS contests.
That has been happening since the season started back up again. But I'm fine with that. I don't have any, like, clearly the goal is to win whatever soccer contest that I'm going to get in. Though that is one where I'm just happy to be out like we've got a really good group of dudes that get together to watch all these Liverpool matches. So it's fun for me to be like checking it. I'm all pumped up and energetic. We're all watching this game together. So I have like a second thing that I could sweat at the same time. That's all I really need for it. It exists. I think that'll change in February. And I think that's just going to be the thing that I pay attention to second most after the NBA.
Well, you'll never enter alone.
This is a good close. That's good. I like it. I like it a lot.
So Josh Engleman on Twitter
Yes.
Everyone should already know. You're on a million Awesemo shows. Awesemo.com.
I am.
We talked for almost 3 hours. Did we learn
It was
anything?
fun.
Did we learn anything?
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. I mean, I think people understand that they should go take a stats class. I think that's the takeaway from this bad boy.
I think most people that listen already know that.
That they should? Yeah, they probably do.
Oh, or maybe they
will. They?
Have.
No.
Most people that listen to the show, they're going to look at the time code and go, "Oh my God, 3 hours." And you know what I say to them? So that's why podcasts have pause buttons and
yeah,
right.
I would do 2.5 hours on an NBA strategy show with Laffy. Before we had 27 shows a day at Awesemo, and it was just like we had one and there were no timeouts. We would start at 10 o'clock. We'd finish a 11-game slate like 2.5 hours later. So doing 3 hours of something like this is old hat for me.
Well, to spend it with Laffy.
Oh, the worst. The absolute worst.
I said
it, Laffy.
So the process, your show on the Awesemo YouTube channel, that's at 7 in the morning Eastern?
6:30 a.m. Eastern time, Monday through Friday.
I have a show at 11 o'clock Eastern. You know when I wake up for it? 10:30. So like...
I get up at 5:15.
That's why you go to sleep. Now I understand why you don't sweat the games, because I'm a night person.
For me to get 8 hours of real sleep, it's precisely impossible for me to do that.
Right. To me, 11 o'clock in the morning is early. It's like, oh my God, I got to do the pregame show? Okay. Roll out of bed.
I would rather that. It's the rest of our schedule that dictated that I do that at 6:30. For me to fit in, like for me to do my contenders videos and do the strategy show, since we're backed up now with shows after that, we couldn't really move that around. So it was either that process show doesn't exist at all, or it has to go on at 6:30. Otherwise, I would just probably get to my desk at 7 and do it without a video. But in order for me to turn that into a piece of content, I had to kick it in a little bit earlier. Trust me, I don't enjoy doing that at 6:30. It's the people that watch and the people that show up, awesome. It's a really fun crew that gets there in the morning. But it's not a fun time.
I'm telling you, I'm not listening. I'm not watching it.
The people that show up from California are the real crazy people.
Yeah, 4 in the morning? Jeez.
A lot of them are just like, still awake, going to bed after this. It's
right.
Like, okay.
And the NBA strategy shows at 10 a.m.
10 a.m.
So yeah. See, look, it doesn't, nothing interferes with my show then. Perfect.
We're done, and we're out at 11 on the dot.
Right, and then you could turn to the Roto Grinders YouTube channel. What's on at 11 at Awesemo that I'm telling people not to watch?
Something NFL related.
Right, so probably the ownership show or something like that.
Today would have been the NFL First Look show. Ownership would be tomorrow.
Oh, that you could watch that. You could listen to that later on you could archive
Absolutely.
That, right, on the podcast.
There's plenty of time to listen to DFS shows while you're at your normal job, not actually doing your work. The same way that I got my current job, by not doing the work at my actual job.
Right.
That's a super true story.
Right. That's the best way to do it, right? And you do it as long as you don't get fired. And then then you know you've made it when you've done it so much that you do get fired and you're making enough money at the other thing.
It went so well that I applied for Awesemo from my desk at my job. I took my call and interview in an office at my job with Tom and Alex and Eddie. And then 2 days later, I walked down out of that office and was just like, I quit. Sorry, I'm out. Which was incredibly satisfying and scary as hell. I didn't know this could be a career. I really didn't.
Yeah, but when you've done, I mean, have you ever done entrepreneurial stuff before?
Never.
Okay, so that's why it's scary.
Not even remotely close. Yeah, no.
Me, my
graduated college, got a job in banking, left that job, went into a clinical research company doing some statistical work for them, and that's the job I left. I hated that job more than I've ever hated anything in my life. I was there for 5 years. Hated it. Hated it. Thought it was going to kill me mentally.
So have we learned that what people should do is quit their jobs and just play DFS?
Yeah, of course. That's the easiest thing to do. It's a money. You just print money. Everybody knows that.
Right.
Everybody knows.
And buy Shibu Inu or whatever that coin is.
Oh, God. Depending on the day, that's the right thing. I had a guy tell me that at a birthday party like 6 months ago. You should buy Shibu, the coin, because of blah, 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 blah reasoning. And I was just like, yeah, whatever. But it turns out if I would have just took $1,000 of my money and bought that stupid coin on that particular day, I'd be a millionaire today.
That's the process. Who needs 80 hours a week when you could do that?
Oh, God. If that's the process, I need to change the name of my show because I have the wrong process. So, yeah, buy Shiba Inu, buy whatever nonsense coins you can find right now. If you have the extra money, you should buy all of them and just not pay attention to it until somebody on Reddit makes it go up.
Sounds like a very solid financial strategy.
I think, that's the GameStop people got it done. Reddit can control the entire market.
Right, TikTok investors. You got to listen to them.
Exactly. Exactly. The same people that are telling you to take a bath in borax. Listen to those people.
Right. The crypto content is just as bad as the sports betting content.
It's probably like taking a digital bath in borax.
Okay. Josh Engleman on Twitter with the fictional level of respect. I like that title, so I'm gonna.
That's fine with me.
I always take whatever. It's always just something that someone says, so I take whatever. So that's how it works. And as always, you could pick up the Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports 15-hour audio DFS Masterclass at theoryofdfs.com.